pants and his shirt.
Yeah, I could, everybody get your own,
You know, this shirt he's wearing is absolutely.
I can plug it in a minute.
I love it, but does it come batteries
Yeah,
included?
I can stand up here.
All right. Bruce, if you wear one next time, we'll let you stand.
Yeah, that's right. We have one
I
on
don't
both
have, I
sides.
don't have a plug-in down this.
Well, all right. All right. Well, let's go ahead and call for roll call.
Terry Lamar,
Here.
Toya Shropshire,
Here,
Lori Bradshaw,
Here.
Travis Malure,
Here.
Randy Chitwood,
Here.
Charles Trammell,
here.
Chris Gonthier,
Here.
Bruce Smith.
Here.
All right, thank you. All right, tonight we have several petitions from the audience. Just some reminders to the audience and to the council. This is for the petitioner to speak to the council. The council is not to answer or respond or ask you questions during this. It is listening only. So if you have questions, you'll need to reach out to your council member at a later time. Council, we have a lot, so let's hear them through and allow them their time, and we'll move forward. The first one we have is Joshua Gray. Please come forward. Joshua, are you here? Apparently not. Okay, we'll scratch Joshua Gray. Second one is Philip Miller. You can come on up. Remind everybody to speak into the microphone.
I've had permission to set up on private property. I've been told by Main Street people that I'm not able to set there. The first time they put me on Facebook and told me not to do business with me. To me, that is slander. The second time, there was a miscommunication. I kindly moved. The third time, I was told if I stay there, they're gonna make it rough on me. To me, that is a threat. They said they had prior permission to set on private property. Come to find out they didn't. And the property's owner said that if I have to pay them, they need to pay him for setting up on their property. And they didn't have permission, so that's a lie to me. And I don't appreciate being told that I can set on private property when I have the right to. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I was also told that if anybody had questions for Main Street regarding that, reach out to their office. They were unable to make it tonight due to illness. Linda Anderson did not make it. That was a maybe. And Nina. All right, the list isn't quite as long. With Nina, we'll make it a short list.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just, as I usually do, I've sent you all an email, and so now I'm gonna read it, so everybody can hear it.
All right, you got 5 minutes. Read fast. It's a long email.
I'll slow it down. Okay, I am unaware of what we will be discussing about our homeless crisis in Tuesday's council meeting. But as the mother of a homeless addict, I am truly glad the city is finally discussing this issue publicly. Thank you. I want to encourage all of you on the following for tonight's meeting. Please discuss this issue with transparency, respect, and compassion. Please direct the discussion to possible solutions, not blame. Please inform and educate citizens what ordinances the city has or needs in regards to the homeless population. You might want to have Chase and Jeremy help with this. Transparency with information lessens rumors and blame. Please be aware that one size solution does not fit all. There is more than one level of homelessness and more than one reason for homelessness. There's chronic, which is the most common type, being homeless for more than a year, usually resulting from long-term struggles with addiction, mental illness, or poverty. Episodic, usually a teenager or young adult struggling with addiction, health issues, or a home environment that causes them to periodically be homeless. Transitional, homeless due to sudden significant change or a catastrophic event such as a loss of job or eviction. Hidden, this largely pertains to those living in their car or hotels, motels, and couch surfers who are homeless for various reasons. These people usually refuse help due to embarrassment, mistrust of authority, or pride. Please do your own research online and with those who work with the homeless. But your most valuable insight can be in talking with the homeless, people who were actually homeless at one time in their lives, and with the loved ones of the homeless. My friend Marshall and I recently put out a Facebook announcement about God leading us to become a part of the homeless crisis solution. But we had no idea that this topic was coming up tonight, but I believe this is God's perfect timing. And no, we are not opening a shelter. We are meeting with an attorney next month for advisement with our project to ensure we do things correctly and legally. We will eventually make our plans public. In saying this, I pray you, our city leaders, citizens, business owners, and organizations work together, unity in the community, in helping our homeless by not just meeting their needs, but also helping them become productive citizens of society. As always, thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you. All right. That's it. None of the others showed up, so. We'll go on, item 3, the consent agenda. Are there any items that we need removed?
Letter D and letter E.
Letter D and letter E. Any further? Okay, can I get a motion for A, B, C, F, G, H, and I?
I'll make a
Motion.
Motion.
I'll say.
We got a motion, a very fast motion. Troy, that shirt has got you like,
I'm ready to go. Yeah,
he's ready, man.
I'm ready.
Charged.
All right, Merry Christmas. We got a motion from Troy and a second from Mr. Chitwood. Further discussion, if none, call for the vote.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell,
Abstain.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Okay. Item D, approve appropriations for September 2023. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion from Chitwood,
Second.
a second from Choya. Discussion.
Yes, I had a question about these forms. I spoke with you about. I like them as far as, you know, they look very organized, but it's the first I've seen them. And I don't expect a dissertation tonight, but a little comment or two would help. And then later on, like those that of us who really don't know much about how to read these forms better, have a chance where we could sit down with you and just get a better understanding.
Yeah, those are all of our funds outside of the general fund. That's the revenue and, or the monthly revenue of each fund. And I have to file that with the county every single month. For every month, I guess, basically. But they've always been on the agenda. They've just never been included in the packet.
All right.
And the
further-
same questions for both D and E, that's why. So, I mean,
Okay.
that's why I pulled them.
Okay, further discussion? None? Call for the vote.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
All right, item E, approve appropriations for October 2023. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I have a motion from
Second.
Gantier and a second from Chitwood.
No discussion from me.
Call for the vote.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire.
Yes.
All right, item 4, Mayor's Report. Item A, discussion regarding the current homeless crisis in Pryor. Do I have a motion for discussion?
Motion. Second.
I have a motion from Chitwood and a second from Gantier.
We don't need a motion
Do it.
for discussion only, right?
It's
Okay.
all right, we got one. We're insurance. I want to take a moment and preface this discussion and kind of set the tone for the idea behind putting this on the agenda. You know, we hear every day that we need to do something about this problem. We need to do something about this problem. The phone calls, the pictures, the comments, the suggestions are endless. They're endless. Everybody has something to say. As we discuss it tonight, I want to let everybody know that the expectation for this conversation is, one, there's no finger pointing. We're not calling out names. We're not calling out entities we're not trying to find blame. We don't care. I don't care. I don't care what the blame is. I think what we need to focus on in this conversation is, as the leadership of this community is coming up with healthy discussion to take a crisis from crisis stage to the acknowledgement that, yeah, we have the same problem that every community in the United States has. It may be a little bit newer to us. It may be a little bit intimidating to some. It may be a little frightening to some. And to some that are living that reality, we want them to know that we still love and respect you. You're still a part of our community. But we have some things that we do need to talk about. We have we have people that have ideas. We had today a couple of our council members, on the request of a citizen, went up to one of the locations where we have several unhomed individuals, and from what I understand, had some very uplifting and wholesome conversation, and they learned a little bit. The idea is that as a community, you know, I always try to take that advice that our mother gave us when we were younger. You know, when we were like teenagers, we're like, shut up, Mom. You don't know what you're talking about. And we take it. And my mom always said, if something you're doing isn't working, then you need to do something else. The complaining and the fussing isn't working. So it's our turn now to turn and figure out how to make this not a crisis, how to make this something that our community can, one, come together in wholesome repair and wholesome development, and discuss how we can use this for the betterment of our community. You know, it's unfortunate when we read the data that's out there. We talk about communities like Chicago or Portland or Seattle, whose homeless population is pushing 30, 40, 50%. And of that, 30 to 40, 50% of those populations are unsheltered. They very, very selectively used that word. We talk homeless, our schools, we know, and I hope I get the number right. Don't come at me if I'm off a few. Sadly and heartbreakingly, report about 147 homeless kids in our school district. As most of you know, I'm very vulnerable when it comes to our children, and that's heartbreaking. We have children that wake up every morning and they don't have those first world problems we have. They don't even have a bed. And those of us that do have a bed sometimes find ourselves complaining about that person being on the street. They're in our way. And that breaks my heart. I think every one of us can agree that we can come together, the strong community that we are, and find solutions to what really isn't as big of a problem as we think it is. You know, we talk about these communities, Portland and, you know, Providence, Rhode Island, and all these metropolitan on the coastal or whatever, Chicago, that have these 50, 30% populations that are unsheltered, and I don't know that we really have a measurable amount here, maybe 40 people that are unsheltered right now. Now that doesn't, I'm not talking about the ones that are, they've lost their home and they're living with grandma. I'm talking unsheltered. So my challenge tonight to the council and an open and honest and forthright discussion is, I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear what you learned today. Those of you that visited, and those of you that have put thought and ponder into this, I want to hear your thoughts. And so we'll give this some time, and when the discussion is done, we'll move on. I open the floor to you guys.
Well, we went up there and really had our eyes open to a lot of different situations. It was really informative and really good. And we found out there's no black and there's no white. The biggest thing is the gray area in between. Everybody has a different situation. Everybody has a different story. And it wasn't, the people that we talked to absolutely weren't, that wasn't what they wanted to be doing. They wanted to find a way to be able to do something different. So, I mean, the want to is out there. It's just we have to find a way to help come up with some type of a program or something to give them a hand up on trying to figure out how to find something to do, or how to find a way to be more productive. I'll put it that way. They're going to have the abilities and things.
Could you share the story you shared with me about, without obviously naming, but about the gentleman you talked to today?
Yes, yeah. He had a rough upbringing, and he did spend some time in jail, and so he was having a rough time being able to find a job and stuff due to some situations like that. And I felt really sorry for him for not being able to do some of the things he needed to do. So yeah, it was a real education, I'll tell you, to be able to talk to people that were in that situation. It really was.
Mayor, while we were talking to them today, it appeared that there's people that probably want to go to work, but they have no way to get to work. And we need to get somebody in this town organized to connect the people that need help and the people that want to help and get that going. They're kind of in a circle. Whichever way they go, they can't get there. Now, this homeless shelter we're talking about rotates. It's not the same bunch stays there all the time. Some of them will leave and go to other things, and there'll be other new ones come in. But what we lack is some way to organize this to get everybody in connection with each other.
You know, it's about resources. You know, through my occupation, I've been to some of those cities and been able to be with those that experience homelessness in those bigger cities and things. And I think the bottom line, like what you said, is true. Everybody has a different story, but it's about how do we provide resources for these people that so that it doesn't. Because that is, you know, I think fear is, and I'll be honest, at one time I was fearful of, you know, not knowing the unknown until I was actually meeting people and knowing circumstances and stories that people go through. But resources, I think, are just the most important thing, is being able to have resources at hand for these people. And that's what has to be organized, I feel like, because otherwise they're just.
Yeah.
I think what we have to realize, compassion is a very important thing to have, because if we don't as a city, and I very seldom bring anything about church or religion in, but how we treat people could provoke the wrath of God if we're not careful. Okay, I'm just being honest, and that would be bad for our city. But moving right along, we have a couple things to consider. Number one, their immediate needs. They're cold. Right now, Academy Sports has sleeping bags, $10 a piece, basically. You know, if we can keep them warm, throw some food their way, different things like that during the winter, they need energy to stay alive. You know, they're cold. Help them if you can. I believe in a hand up, not a hand out. But sometimes you've got to temporarily take care of a situation while you work on the second stage. And as you mentioned, some of them want to work. Some of them may not be physically able or whatever, but they need opportunity. But while we're waiting for them to find out a way to help give them opportunity, we have to show compassion. Because if we don't, I'm going to be honest, we're sorry human beings. I'm going to say that publicly. Now, I don't want to enable people to do things either that they shouldn't be doing. So you got to have proper balance. And I want to be very clear, and I'm choosing my words carefully. I don't want to help somebody to stay in a bad situation that they're voluntarily staying in. That's not good. But the ones that need help, need help.
Yep.
And sometimes we may help some that maybe we shouldn't. But I'd rather help a few we shouldn't to make sure we get the ones that need help. And I go there and bring food sometimes. I bring, unexpired milk that we like, and I make no bones about it. Not that I care if you like it or not. I don't want to throw milk away that could go to people. I don't want to throw food away that could go to people. And they're people. They're human beings. And any of us at any time could be in their situation. We could lose our jobs. I lived in Louisiana when a major storm hit. And 90% of our community, the houses were flooded. Okay? We were one of the few ones that had an upstairs part that we could actually stay in. I saw firsthand how people can that quickly be out. We need to show compassion, and part of compassion is not enabling, but helping. And so I think we need to keep that in mind as we make the discussions. The only other thing I want to also caution us, due to Supreme Court rulings and laws and different things, we have to be careful about any ordinances that are made, because there are Supreme Court rulings and things. And so I just want us to be aware of that, and that's pretty much what I want to say.
I appreciate that. And I'm not cutting anybody off. I hope I didn't cut any. I think it's important, like Chris said, we want to make note that no point does the city of Pryor live, represent, or feel that being in this stage of life or this situation of life, we don't feel it's a crime. It'll never be criminalized in the city of Pryor. Now, there are, and I've got Officer Humphreys here, who many of you have seen around town. His job is, he's in charge of making sure things follow code. The health hazards and safety hazards are adhered to. I'm sure if you've let your lawn grow a bit too tall, or you don't move a car for a few years, you're going to get a citation from that. That's the things that we do to protect the safety, the health, the welfare of the community. And those are the things that we're not going to be able to back off of. We have to protect that. Like when I went and I took my code enforcement class, I took an oath to the state of Oklahoma that I would protect the health, the safety, and welfare of the community. That includes housing values. That includes, grandma allowing your kids to go out and safely play in the yard within the fence. That allows, it's a very broad spectrum when we say that. But, in the city of Pryor, I promise you that being down on your luck and not having a good constitution is never going to be criminalized. It's never going to be a criminal action. As we talk about relief, Chris, you had mentioned the different levels of relief, and I'd like to share. I went a couple weeks ago. I had an opportunity. I got invited to go to a workshop in Claremore where this very topic was discussed. It was a mediocrely faith-based organization. But what they do is they go into communities and they help them understand how to remove the silos, as we talk about, how to come together, how to work, how to help, how to develop. They call it the ABCs of charity. And they talk about relief. And they say relief is when we're handing out water bottles. You know, tornado comes through, I'm going to give you a water bottle, I'm going to give you a blanket. I've taken care of that, and I use the term the tyranny of the urgency, right? I took care of that immediate need, but that's all I've done. I gave you water, I gave you warmth. I didn't give you any type of rehabilitation. And so what this taught was that as we go through, it teaches civic organizations, churches, whatever you want to call it, whatever's out there, whether it's the Optimist Club, whether it's Rotary, whether it's Girl Scouts, I don't know, whatever you got, Legion, any group. I look across the room and I see all kinds of things represented in here. But the rehabilitation phase of that charity is helping these people get back to that pre-crisis stage of life. When you have a car accident and you run into a pole, you call your insurance agent and he's going to say, well, we'll get your car back to the way it was before you had a wreck, but we're not going to buy you a new one, right? That's what they do. That's that insurance policy. And then the third type of charity is development. It's helping people develop. It's helping people learn how to use what they have that maybe they forgot about it. It helps them develop self-worth and a little bit of value, a little self-sufficiency, becoming self-reliant. How do I, without any resources, how do I budget what little income I have? How do I budget my food? How do I learn how to take my weaknesses and use them into strengths? I was really kind of hoping, Troy, if you don't mind, I'm going to share what you shared with me about your gentleman.
Yeah, if you would hand me that paperwork I gave you, I'd like to.
It's up
some of
here
that.
somewhere. You can have the whole stack.
Okay, thank you. I'd like
Some
to
of
read
mine's in there
that
too. Have fun with it. But Troy had shared with me before the meeting about one of the gentlemen that he spoke to, and if the gentleman's in here, I unofficially am asking your permission to share the story, but had said that one of the struggles that he had in finding a job was that he was illiterate. So we go to workforce, and what's the first thing they do is they put you on a computer and say, do the work. Years ago, and we talked about this, and Troy, his wife, was here, we were kind of reminiscing. Years ago, the library had an adult literacy program. That burden doesn't need to fall on the city every time. You know, when we talk about charity, we talk about rescuing the one. Could Travis, I'm picking on him tonight because I like the guy. Could Travis's church hold an adult literacy class and invite that individual to come and work on those job skills? Guess what? That's what it's about. That's that rehabilitation and development. Then they can focus on helping him. Yes, maybe it's only one of our 40, but it's one that we've been able to rescue and help. As a community, my direction is, and I think we can all agree, the tone is pretty solemn right now in the room. My challenge to our organizations and to our groups and to our churches, including my own, is to find something that will allow you to rescue the one. The gentleman that we were talking about, if I understood, said he had a special skill.
Mm-hmm.
What was that skill?
He had two. He was a carpenter and he also worked landscape. So it was something that everybody could use.
So carpentry and landscape, there seems to be a little bit of a shortage there, but one of the things we talked about as a city one time was having those little miniature libraries around town, right? So what if an organization spent $100 on lumber and said, hey, you come help us build these library boxes and put them out, and we'll provide you some food. Now you've created a situation where there's potential for some self-worth. There's a little bit of vesting in the community, but it's also reaching out to the one. And instead of going around town, walking on eggshells with each other, we're now looking for opportunities for charity. And we know that charity equals love, right? We are a community. We are a better community than a crisis. And in every situation where Pryor has had a situation of distress, whether it be after a storm, the Father's Day storm, what did we do? We all grin and bear it. We cut up our wood, we get ready, and we try not to chew Buddy's head off as he's making his rounds, picking it up, but we all help. I remember I was out of town for that storm. I was coming back from a trip, and it was, I believe, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had Councilman Gonthier called me and said, I'm driving around and these are the problems. And I said, what do our rooftops look like? What do the homes, I don't care about the light poles, what do the homes look like? And I was grateful to hear that they were good, that they were good. You know, working together as a community, that's what we're about. That's Pryor. I know that everybody in this room, the sheltered and the unsheltered, has value in our community. And I would be very upset and very heartbroken as the leader of this community to find out that we've devalued somebody because of what they don't have or because their constitution is rougher than ours. I'm still open for discussion. I'm feeling that, you know, that challenge to the community will stand.
I'd like to make a point, if it's okay with you. You gave me a list of what your requirements were and stuff like that. Would it be okay to read that aloud? Okay. When we talk a tent city, we just think they go out there and pitch a tent and they just hang out there and everything's, you know, do whatever they want to do. That is totally not right. First thing they do is find out their name and date of birth and things like that, any contacts emergency contacts, things that they may have. And then the general rules are, like you say, most people think there are no rules. You just go out there and pitch a tent and live there. But no, that's not the way that works. The general rules are no drugs or alcohol, legal or illegal, allowed on the property, no selling, sharing, consuming, or storing. So right there, that's a pretty good rule that they've set down. No sex or sexual activity, either inside the building or outside anywhere on the property, including the tents. No drama. You must be able to get along with the others. Staying on the property, no fighting. Keep all the areas clean of trash and clutter. Use designated waste receptacles for your trash. Then here was something that really hit me, quiet hours, okay? At 10 o'clock, it's then 10 o'clock until 7 o'clock in the morning is quiet hours. That means you should be settled down and not making any racket or anything for everybody there. No visitors allowed outside of Impact Center's business hours. The outdoor restroom must be kept clean and is not to be used for sleeping in. And we found out today that some people were using construction outdoor porta potties for their housing, to somewhere to stay inside during the night. So that was something that I had never thought they had done, but they were. So that's pretty bad. And no fires allowed on the property. And they are allowed pets because a lot of people, the pets are their partner, you know. So they're not allowed to be aggressive towards people or other animals. You're responsible for feeding and watering and the security of your pet. You clean up any animal waste or mess created by your pet. You follow city ordinances with the registration and leash laws. So all of those dogs have to have their shots and everything, or cats, before they're allowed to be there. So they're all up to the ordinances. And they do not cause any problems in the tent rules. Now, I thought this was kind of interesting too. The tents must remain in a designated area. Tents must be taken down by 9 a.m. daily. Tents can be put up 30 minutes before sunset. All possessions, including the tents, are limited to 1 tote per person. I understand the Impact Center is not responsible for the security of my belongings, okay? If issued an Impact Center tent, I agree to return it in the same condition as I borrowed it in immediately upon finding other living arrangements. If the tent is damaged, I agree to replace it. So it's not just a haphazard, let's go throw a tent up and there's a place to stay. So it is organized, it is regulated, and they do have rules and regulations. So it's not something that most people think it's just a haphazard, throw up a tent and live there. But no, that's not the way it is. We found that out today.
Thank you.
So Troy, is that property zoned for all of these tents?
That I do not have an answer for.
So, you know, we've been sitting here
Trent,
tonight,
you
and
wanna come on up?
I hear everything that's been said. I agree with everything that's been said. But we also need to recognize that there is a fringe element to, I'm just gonna use the word homeless community, or I don't like the word homeless, but I will use it for simplicity's sakes tonight. There is a fringe element that has embedded itself, it appears, in this community that we need to be concerned about. There's an individual in this room tonight who was confronted by someone a couple of weeks ago and actually feared for their life. They thought they were going to be hurt. There are reports of members of the homeless community defecating on private property. I think what we need to do here, and I respect all of the opinions that were said tonight, to include Nina, who spoke beforehand, if I could say that. But I think what we need to do is we need to take a very holistic look at our city ordinances here with the city attorney and ask ourselves, how do we properly support this community this population that is now a part of our community, while simultaneously, and listen very carefully, while simultaneously protecting the health and safety of our non-homeless citizens in Pryor Creek. That we have got to do. And I think to do that, it's on him, but it is also on our police chief to what do you need to better enable you and your police force? Don't answer this. This is just to enable you and your police force to ensure the proper protection of the homeless community that is here, but also the health and safety of our public. You know, as an auditor, I am trained to drill down and look for the root cause of any issue. And once you get to that root cause, and only once you identify that root cause, will you be able to properly identify the solution. So I also want to know how, I'm just going to say it, and I'm not trying to be cruel here. Where are these people coming from? Is there individuals or organizations that are bringing these citizens, these people into our community, and then not doing the charitable thing to continue to help them, turning them loose on the streets? And then all of a sudden, they are struggling to survive. We're struggling to support them. We've got to turn off that pipeline. We've got to identify that root cause of these organizations and these people, bringing them in and deal with that. And if it means changing our city ordinances and strengthening them, let's talk about that. That's the discussion we need to be having.
So, as chief, you know, I know Dan and I know Jen as well, and I get what they're doing, and you know, I understand, you know, that side of it. As chief, you know, when we get complaints, our job is to figure out if there's a violation of the city ordinance or codes. So that's where we didn't go hunt out, you know, the place. It was, we started getting complaints, you know, and when we start getting complaints, it's just like, if some citizen in town calls a complaint, we're gonna follow up on it. Trent just happens to be the code enforcer, and he's the one who's tasked with doing it. I know he's visited with Janice and Dan, and I don't know your name, but I know he's visited with Mr. Green. So I know he's visited with them, you know, because we all wanna help, you know, I mean, the goal is, as a community, because it's not a police problem, unless somebody leaves, breaks the law, which we spoke of, you know, and it doesn't matter if somebody from a homeless camp or somebody in town, I mean, people are gonna break the law no matter where they're from. So, you know, our job is to handle the situation as it comes, but trying to find a fit that works. And I know Trent's worked on this for several months, and he's wrote letters, he's talked to the city attorney, he's talked to Ben Shear, who's also the attorney. So there's people involved in it, you know, trying to come up with a solution. As far as, you know, where people come from, I mean, Pryor is the county seat, you know, there's resources here. And that's all, I'm not gonna point fingers at places, but there's resources that people, you know, are gonna come to. So they're gonna stay close to those resources. It makes sense, you know, and so, I visited with people from those places as well. But like Zach said earlier, it's not a Pryor problem, it's everywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter. I was in Durango, Colorado, and they had the same issue, you know, I mean, just the way it is, that it stinks all the way around, and you know, we wanna do what we can to help, but we also have to look at if we're getting complaints or, you know, those neighbors that live right next there. And so trying to find that balance and what is the best solution is what we're trying to do. And I think that's what, you know, this discussion was about tonight. Like I said, I know Trent, if you want to speak in depth on some of it, but he's worked on this for several months and, like I said, that's, unfortunately, as code enforcers, that's his job when we start getting complaints.
Well, not all of it. But as Jeremy said, I've worked on it because complaints would come in to me. It's one of those things that we don't normally, as police officers, have to deal with, such as this. It is an unfortunate situation for the homeless, and it's an unfortunate situation for the property owners. Both sides are victims in some sense. The homeless, of course, they're scared. They have no place to go. They can't just go squat on somebody's property without maybe being threatened. You know, which you want to protect your property just like I do. You don't know who this person is sitting on their property. That homeless person, he's scared too, you know, at the same time. They do have a place to go stay right now. Not the best situation though in the world. That maybe we can find a solution here to make it better for the homeless. But at the same time, we have property owners who are victims. And the property owners, their property values in that neighborhood will most likely, I'm not a real estate broker or anything like that, but the economic crime of their property values are going down due to the encampment and the homeless who they have nothing to do but roam the streets sometimes. But to answer your question, Mr. Trammell, yes, the zone that this church is in is residential multifamily. It is not zoned for such an encampment. It is zoned for residential use only. Now, I've looked at all the other churches in the city limits, and there's no regular zoning way where you put a church. A church can be established anywhere in residential, agricultural, or business, either way. But this particular church is zoned in a multifamily residentially zoned area, which I have a chart, and you can find the chart in our city ordinance books if you look at it. There's certain requirements for certain like housing situations, like a halfway house, different places like that. They do not fall within the category of the multi-residential zoning areas. Give me a second and I will find that. But anyway, we'll move on. A state senator just not too long ago in 2022, he filed a bill. This Oklahoma State Senator Rob Stangridge of Norman, because of the homeless encampments that was being put up around there. It is still in process. I don't think it has passed yet, but it was State Bill 1381. And it's basically him asking or requiring that cities impose a sanitary standards or ordinance requirement for homeless encampments. And that's the situation we're in here, and that's the situation that bothers me. I mean, could I go write little code enforcement violations to the homeless? No. What good's that going to do? There's no reason to criminalize the homeless situation. Could I write ordinances to the organization or the people running the organization? Yeah, but that's not fixing our situation either. What we're doing here tonight is going to fix our situation, or maybe we can come to a conclusion on how to do this. I don't like to be the bad guy. Sometimes I have to be. But basically, in his bill, it was basically requiring that the homeless encampments or organizations that house homeless, such as an encampment, to go get a permit just as required for a regular campsite or a recreational campgrounds. That they have to have showers, they have to have bathrooms, they have to have toiletry, they have to have a kitchen. They have to have all the things set in place and access to 24/7, not just between 9 to 5. I mean, it's unfortunate, we have people who do want to go to work, do want to go to school, but they can't go take a shower until after a certain time. They can't, I mean, I think they have things in place at our homeless encampment up here for them to wash their clothes, do different things, and they can enlighten you on everything that they have later. But right now, the standard, and there's several different standards of code enforcement violations here that you could look at. You know, that there's a number of, there's an equation, and I don't know the equation off the top of my head, on how many toilets should be provided for every person. How many bathrooms? Should there be a female bathroom and a men's bathroom? Should there be a family bathroom, you know, in case they have children? There's so many questions. I talked to the health department today, and one of the representatives I talked to, their concern was the sanitary conditions. And one of the sanitary conditions that I have witnessed while being there was the porta potty being full. It was taken care of the next day. Now they have 2 porta potties, which is fine. I'm not saying it's within our code or standards that we would require for healthy conditions. They also have a water spigot that they stand in the mud, they wash their hands, they do different things. They try to do the best they can with what they got. But like I said, there's no 24/7 way for the homeless here to take care of their hygiene or anything else they need to do. Now, does that mean that at least they have food, they have neighbors that they can tap on their shoulder, go, hey, I have a problem, could you get me an ambulance or something like that? They're not sitting under a bridge somewhere or in a field by themselves. I have noticed that the number of people standing on corners with a sign has gone down quite a bit. And maybe that was due to the little encampment. Maybe it wasn't. I don't have a clue.
And on that part, when I took over as chief, and one of the election things they talked about was the homeless issue in town, because people were sleeping the old sauna, you can see them in front of buildings, and so it's a double-edged sword for me, because I'm like, you know, they've got a place now they can go, and most of them are at, you know, you still got, you know, some that don't stay there, that stay under a bridge or whatever, but the majority will stay there, so they're in one spot, you know, so they're not all over town sleeping on properties and things like that, so it's a double-edged sword. I mean, it really, truly is for all of us, and I mean, it's not for you guys, I mean, we're truly trying to help as well. I mean, I get what you guys are trying to do, and I understand the situation they're in. I mean, it's things, so that's why we've tried to be, like we have been on it. I mean, we haven't pushed terrible. I mean, we wrote letters and talked to you guys and stuff. I haven't been involved in it as much, you know, but this is a good discussion, and I'm glad they're here. You know, everybody's here to speak on the behalf of it, because that's the only way you're gonna solve the problem. I mean,
Right.
you know, it's working together to come up with a solution.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Just one more thing.
Yeah, just
When-
one.
When talking to the Department of Health, they advise that there is standards that the Red Cross puts out for encampments such as for national disasters and stuff like that, that gives a formula to square footage, bathrooms, all the above, everything that would be needed. Those are things that we might look into in the future on how to address certain
Sanitary standards.
Sanitary.
Yeah.
I do, one last thing, well, they'll address it, I'm sure, when they come up, but they have requested extra plumbing, extra things to be able to put a bigger bathroom in there. But the ability to do so by MUB right now is limited.
Right.
So,
Let me ask one question. I'm gonna assume this, but you probably don't have a criminal problem at this encampment we're talking about.
I mean, there has been a few instances where we've dealt with people off-site. I don't know if we've dealt with people on-site there, but that's no different than anywhere else in town.
Yeah, well, what I'm thinking is if people want to go far enough to register and to be there and be known, their likelihood of committing a crime is not like the guy that's under the bridge.
Correct.
That's, until people get out and talk and see how it is, oh, you're hearing the rumors. He did this, he did that. Well, to me, there's homeless people and there's street people, and there's a difference. And that's sometimes hard to tell the difference in. But at least this is something, like you said, they're not scattered everywhere, everybody's in one place, and they want to help. We just figure out how to do it.
And Janice and Dan, they do, and Mr. Green, they do good as far as getting them the resources they need and the help. I'm sure they have places that, as well as medications and things they would need and such, so.
Thank you.
Sergeant Humphries, real quick, whenever someone opens a halfway house here, are they required to register that with you or the city?
There's no requirement. They should
Do they?
apply, no. They
So
don't.
how does the police department know where these
We
are, or
usually
do you care?
Criminal activity.
If
that
something happens, but
connects to it.
we actually, Trent had somebody come down from the state on those, and the sober living homes will either get out of prison and they send them, say they're from Tulsa, but they're Mays County probation because they got trouble in Mays County. They have to come to Mays County and stay in the county. They can't go to Tulsa. So they send them here to these sober living homes or halfway houses, whatever, but there's no standard set by the state either. So they can, register with this company through the state, voluntarily, but there's no requirement for it, so there's no oversight at all on those.
Wouldn't it be beneficial for the city to have an ordinance to do that?
Correct, I think. it would
You
be
need
good.
to know, at the police department, what criminals or ex-criminals, whatever, is living and doing whatever. 'Cause we don't know. I think there's several.
And that's nothing to do with this side of it.
No, this is not what I'm talking about.
I think you're gonna run into some constitutional issues
Well,
when you start getting.
I want to mention something on that. In Louisiana, we had a problem when I lived there, and I checked into it. There's a federal law, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're considered a single family, and
Yep.
they have to be treated as such. It
right.
doesn't matter who they are, and the state can't touch it because of the federal law. Now,
That would
you
make
can look,
sense.
you can look into it.
Yeah,
It's something
Supreme
that happened
Court.
in California, and that's where it's at. So we can't do it. And as also with the homeless, there's certain Supreme Court decisions and constitutional issues about what we can and can't do, just like a church. Feeding people, clothing people, providing shelter, it's a First Amendment right they have, and so we have to be careful about limiting a church, what they can and can't do. So I get it. I understand. And I agree, it's not an ideal situation. But if they don't have a place to go, they're gonna be doing the same thing elsewhere. They're gonna be hungry, they're gonna be cold, and hungry and cold people are desperate. And the crime rate would probably go up simply because they're desperate. Now, I agree, this is not an ideal situation. But it's what we have now, and while we're looking for a better solution, I wanna be careful that we don't make the situation worse.
Yeah,
I
so,
mean, gotta be careful.
I get it, but I'm tired of hearing about, you can't do this, you can't do that. Tell me what we can do.
Yeah.
Give me the parameters of what we can do before somebody gets hurt. And again, I'm not talking about the general homeless population we have. It is that fringe element that when someone does something that is homeless and is doing criminal activity, the general populace, they will take that one person and apply them to the homeless population as a
Categorize.
whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, stop telling me what we can't do.
so
We've got to fix this.
Charles, I wanna back up a little bit. I do wanna correct you on something, because I think Chase's eyeballs about popped out of his head when you said it. When you said that it was his responsibility, the legislative branch of our government is you guys. So really, that burden falls on the council.
No, that's not what I meant. We need your advice on what we can.
His job is to make sure
Wanna
we're doing it the right way. Is that
We
better?
need you to keep, that's what I
But-
meant. I apologize.
But it is,
Go figure this out.
I like the phrase that we talk about, sanitary standards. I think those are things that as a city, we can set in place. We can say, hey, in XYZ, we're gonna set sanitary standards. How we do it, that's where we consult and figure out the legal way to do those things. And I think, one thing we have to keep in mind is this problem isn't going away. We're not gonna wish this away. This is, and I'm not trying to be negative, Nancy, I'm not trying to be the guy that says it, but it's only gonna get worse as we get further on. The way our economy is right now, all the things contributing, whether it's mental health, whether it's our local housing prices. I know some of you in here have properties, and I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not dogging, but, if you're in a situation where you have nothing, and the only homes available are $1,200 a month, first and last month's rent, plus a deposit of $1,200, where in the heck are you gonna get that? It ain't happening. It isn't happening. It isn't gonna happen in Claremore. It isn't gonna happen in Broken Arrow. It isn't gonna happen anywhere. So part of the problem is, I can't even say part of there's so many reasons. Sometimes people just don't have a good constitution, and life befalls them every hook of bad luck. But again, I think as a community, we have another opportunity to be a standout. And that is that we take and make this a better situation for ourselves. We make this a better situation for the gentleman who can't read, who can't get the job because he can't fill out the paperwork. But by golly, there's something he can do. In the class I took, they talked about in Joplin, there's an organization. Some of you have seen it if you've been in my office. They take and they create jobs. Like, you don't get paid for it, but you get like maybe your bed ticket, or it may be your meal ticket, or when Chick-fil-A at the end of the day has all their extra chicken burgers or sandwiches and they bring them, you'll get one right? And what they do is they gather all the appliances that they find in dumpsters and collected through, hey, come get my washer dryer. They pull all the copper out of it, and they let these people create jewelry. And I have a bracelet on my desk in there that was created where they just pounded it out into a bracelet, and then the organization sells it, and that's how they support their cause. What that does is that creates a little self-worth, that creates opportunities, it creates a solution. As we go forward, I think we have a lot of opportunity to grow. We have opportunity to provide growth, development, rehabilitation. It's not gonna fall on any one person, so nobody go home and be like, oh my God, the mayor told us we gotta do this. No, the mayor's challenging you to do it. The mayor's challenging the community to make the best out of this situation. And I think we've been edified with great comments tonight. Everybody's had good conversation. I'm still open for more. Terry, you got something?
One of the gentlemen in the back would like to speak if he could.
Council, we got a minute for him?
Sure.
I'm not opposed. Yep. Because this is a serious situation.
Come on up and introduce yourself, brother.
My name's Corvée Yoakum. The gentleman he was talking about earlier was me. I spent 42 years in prison. I was 17 when I went in. I was 59 when I walked out on a 105-year sentence. All I want to do is be a part of the community. I don't want to go back to my hometown because I'll be around the same people. I'll be back around the drug, the alcohol. I just came from drug treatment, alcohol treatment. And I graduated that alcohol treatment, and I'm proud of that.
Congratulations.
I just now accepted God Sunday. First time in my life I've ever asked God to help me. He's taking my mental illness, he's slacking it down for me. All I want to do is be a part of the place. I want to work. I want an education. I never had. All I want to be is part of some place. That's all. I don't like living where I'm living. I hate, ever since I walked out of prison, I've lived the streets. I've been out here for 2 years and 8 months now. All I want is to be part of someplace. I don't want y'all to look down on us because we are homeless, because we don't have nothing. You know, I'm the elder of our little community. Some of them listen to me, some of them don't. No, some of them take my advice. Now, I've went off a couple people who came on the property trying to start trouble in the middle of the night. I look out for my little community as I would with my own family. All I ask y'all to give me a chance. Give our little community a chance. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm sure. I just want to reassure you, you are part of our community. What we have doesn't determine who we are. Okay? Terry, did you have a comment? Or?
Yes, I do. First of all, I'm very, very touched from your story, and I'm glad I got to meet you this morning. I want to say, Janice, you all are doing an awesome job up there for this group. And I commend you for what you're doing up there, all of y'all. I also want to commend her and her group up there. I want to also give an accolade to the Assembly of God Church up there for offering their facility. And I want to implore you all that did not go up there and visit with them today to go up there and visit with Janice and listen to what she's got to say. It was an eye-opening experience to get firsthand knowledge of what her vision, her goal was in establishing this, what they're trying to do. They're working their hinds off. They're working hard to try to get something done. They're limited on funds. In addition to the church that they're at, I understand from them that there's only one other church in this town that's even supporting them and helping them out with this, and that's the Old Nazarene Church. I don't know what it's called now, but the Old Nazarene Church over on 2nd and Quad Row. So those two churches are doing what they're doing to help them up there, and they're the only ones in town that I've been told that are. But I think it's a real eye-opening experience for you to go up there and get people to go up there from other groups, from the other churches, from the other civic groups. Go up there and see, talk to Janice and talk to them and see what goes on firsthand. Visit with some of these folks and get to know them and hear their story. And I think it will be an eye-opening experience for you. So I want to commend you, Janice, for what you're doing up there and for your vision to start this. That being said, I think that part of the, I'm glad we're having this discussion, and I'm glad you're not putting a time limit on it, because this is an important thing that we need to talk about. But I think that we need to figure out, it's a complicated situation, a very complicated situation, and a complicated solution to the problem. But I think that somebody needs to organize some sort of organization to come up and set at a round table, several meetings. I know it's going to take money, it's going to take dedication, it's going to take a lot of support, but I think we need to sit down and get all kinds of different people involved. The clergy, the churches in the community, maybe DHS, maybe the mental health groups, maybe the district attorney's office, maybe the police department, the city attorney, maybe the district attorney. But we all need to get together to sit down and just not talk about it, but do something about it. and get groups together to come up with a plan to identify, what the needs are, what the problem is, how, possible solutions for that. I know a lot of it is gonna boil down to money and dedication and things like that, but I think that that's where we need to start. And maybe this dialogue tonight can start that process.
Thank you.
Now, I also want to piggyback to Janice, what Trent Humphrey mentioned about sanitation. I don't know where you get your porta potties, and I don't know where you get these facilities at, but I do know that at probably like Rocklahoma type grounds, I've been to outdoor flea markets, outdoor country fairs, etc., that they have these hand washing stations, and I'm sure you've seen them that pump, got 2 or 3 little sinks. Maybe that's something y'all could get or talk to somebody to get to help with the hand washing situation outside. You're probably aware of what those are, but if not, there are things out there available. But again, I'm glad that Councilman Smith is the one that called me up last night and said, let's go up there and chat. And I got Troy, this is in Troy and I are in Ward 1, and this is in our district up there. And no, I have not had one single complaint from a citizen that has called me up. Now, you hear things in the cafes and stuff, talking in general, but I really haven't had any complaints about it personally. But again, it was an eye-opening experience. You need to go up there and talk to them, and hopefully this will get the ball rolling with something to do. But it's not gonna happen overnight. It's gonna be we also may need to get our state legislators involved to see what can be done at the state level and different funding and grants and what have you. But that's a great idea on the literacy program. I don't know I wish Carrie was here, but she's not. But the Pryor Library did have a literacy program where you could go up there and they had a person that would teach people how to read and write. And maybe the city library department can get involved with that and get with you and see what that need is up there for that. I totally understand that a lot of people, and a lot of these people up there, they want to work. But when you sit down with Janice and talk to them, they don't have a car to get to work. There's a lot of aggravating circumstances behind that. But this gentleman back here brought up a good point too. When you're an ex-con, there's a stigma that goes along with that, and people don't want to hire you. And some companies have that rule. And I don't know what. And yes, there are a lot of bad people out there that continuously break the law and keep in that vicious cycle. But the ones that want to go straight and have paid their debt to society and want to get on the straight and narrow, they're rejected by society and culture that, nope, we're not hiring you because you're an ex-con. I don't know what the solution to that is, but maybe people need to, I don't know what the solution to that is, but that keeps some people from getting good work. So thank you.
Thank you. I have reached out. The workshop that I went to in Claremore, the True Charity Workshop, has agreed to come to Pryor and host. We're trying to figure out the interest. We're trying to figure out if it would warrant. We have the police station, which is big enough to host there. But once we get that out, we'll put word out for any entity or group that's willing to come and see what that's about, see if that's the right thing for you. But I think what it does, is it the answer? No. Is it the only answer? No. But is it a direction that we can all, we talk about removing the silos. That's a term we like to use a lot. Maybe it's a direction where we can all point our heads in the same direction and say, let's try this approach. Remember, Mom said, if it's not working, try something else. And we haven't tried this yet, so that's my offer. So we get that planned out. We're looking probably mid-February for that. I will say that I just now, I reached out to our librarian, and I asked her if we could start that literacy program back up. And she says, probably. Depends if the council lets me hire more people. No, I'm kidding. She did. They really rely on volunteers, so she's texting me, so I'm in trouble.
Yeah, you're.
She's like, turn it on, let's see what Mayor's saying. But I'm sure that if that's something we need to do, we'll get you taken care of, brother, we'll get you. We'll teach you the basics and get you on the road. How about that? So,
I feel like, you know, here in small Pryor, you know, we've always been really good at, I think, that immediate, you know, when you're talking about those levels of relief and that immediate, you know, everybody's willing to bring the water and, you know, give somebody to help. But I think now the challenge is that you are talking about, and everybody that's been there, and that you know, it's time to do more than just, you know, it's like boots on the ground. What are we going to do as a community? And so that's the challenge. And this was a lot of really good discussion and things.
yes, 100%.
Really good.
Do you have something, or?
Yeah, again, I want to implore, again, I'm gonna foot stomp this, I want to implore the civic groups and the church groups to go up there and talk to them. And then also, I want to say that there, in all groups, you know, there are bad actors. And in any group, there's a stereotype. And in local groups, and I'm saying the camps there, wherever, the campsites out at Walmart, behind Walmart in the woods, or out under the bridge, there are bad actors out there that cause problems for the good group. So we know that there's good people and there's bad people, and there's good and bad people in a homeless camp and good and bad people in regular homes everywhere too. But we've got to we just have to acknowledge that there are some good people and not all bad people. Does that make sense, what I'm trying to say?
Terry, that makes
Yeah.
100%
A lot more
sense.
good people out there than there are bad people.
Sure. And we
Yeah.
can't really worry about, like, you know, if one person does
But
make
there
a
are bad
mistake or do
people out
that,
there.
you know, we have to not be as concerned, because there's far more
And
good people.
Charles brought up an example a while ago, and we do need to be transparent. What Charles was talking about, because I had a phone call for the lady just has already left the council chambers. But there's a lady that's a business person on the west side of Pryor that went out behind her business, I don't know, 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning one morning on I don't remember what day of the week it was. And she was confronted by a homeless person that was out behind her building trying to illegally hook some sort of electronic devices into her electrical or her Wi-Fi or whatever that is on her IT infrastructure in the back of her building, and literally scared her. And they had a little confrontation about it, and she was very, very fearful. And this person took off. And come to find out from the police department, this particular person lives kind of out in the woods or under a bridge area in the far northwest portion of our city limits, and maybe just out in the county. So there are bad people out there. And it's fearful that this lady had that confrontation, but there are bad people out there, and those are the bad people that cause it to have a bad image for everybody.
Yep.
Mayor, I'd like to add a little bit to that. If people will do what we did and go to the camp out here and talk to people, they're not gonna get you. Everybody's afraid and intimidated. They're just people.
Yep.
And that's what everybody, they keep hearing comments and everybody I heard, well, if you go out there and face them, you're gonna find out it's not like that.
And there are a lot of people from out of Mays County that are there. There are people from Mays County that are there. There are people from Pryor that had their families here in Pryor, but they're in that camp. So it's just not outsiders coming in, but it's local folks here in Pryor and Mays County.
Yeah, just come up to the microphone so Nina doesn't yell at us.
Yeah, and, you know, we've all told stories and different things like that, and my main concern is that they are human too, okay? But we have to find a solution for the sanitary conditions, all right? I don't know how many of you know, I know Bruce knows that I was overseas, and I was in Haiti. And the sanitary conditions there after the earthquake was, you're talking about a tent city. There was 60,000 on one side of Port-au-Prince in a tent. There was another 30,000 on the other side of Port-au-Prince. We were constantly going in there for, you know, criminal activity and stuff like that. But the other problem was the World Health Organization was fighting cholera like crazy. And people were dying right and left from bad sanitation areas. That's the concern I have here. Not that we're not at 30,000, we're at maybe 30, if that many up here. I just want to say we need to come together, figure out a solution for this. We all agree that they're in an unfortunate situation. Everybody wants to help, but we just don't have the answers yet. Maybe you guys can figure that out, of course.
Well, the time of year it is, sanitation is one thing, but 19 degrees at night's another. That's
Maybe they
another,
have to open the doors to the gymnasium.
that's a bad situation this time of year for sure, especially if we get the snow that they predict we could get from.
Mayor, I don't know if she wants to, but
Well, I was gonna-
if Janice speak, if.
I was gonna ask the council, I know it's not on here, but if we could allow 2 or 3 people 2 minutes apiece.
Sure.
Janice, would you like to come up? And after Janice, I believe Tim Lawson had something to say.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to thank
Wait, come to the microphone.
So I just want to thank you for having this conversation tonight. This is something that I think.
Thank you for having us,
Thank
talking
you.
to us up there today too.
Yes, yes,
Unexpectedly.
absolutely. I do want to clarify something right off the bat. You were talking about only one church supportive. Financially, I have one church that's supporting. There are many churches in our community that are coming up. They're giving food. I've had a church come in and help me paint my church came in and helped paint the building to make it look nicer. We have churches that come in and do Bible studies. We have churches that come in and pray. We have churches that come on the weekends and feed. So there are churches that are in support of this. So I didn't want that to be left out, that the churches are not, but only one is financially helping, and that is the big thing, is just to be able to have the financial, to be able to do that. The more churches that bring food in is the less food I have to buy, so that also helps as well. But I think one of the biggest things that I just want to say is the education part. You coming up, you seeing for your own eyes, answering your own questions and seeking your own truth. Forming your own opinion rather than listening to the squabblers or the ones who have maybe been misinformed about things. I know, yes, this is not by any means the best solution for anything. However, it's what I can offer with what I'm limited in my sources to help with this issue. There's always a good thing that can come out of a bad thing. If I would have never allowed them to stay in a tent on my property, you guys wouldn't be having this conversation today. It wouldn't be exposed to the community that, hey, we really do have a problem. And so I'm not saying that it's a good thing that we have this little encampment, but it's allowing an opportunity to open up conversation to find solutions. You're talking about the bad ones, give the names to the good ones. It's, again, education, learning what the different, you talked about the different levels of homelessness. We have far more crime and far more issues out of people who have homes than we do with the homeless. But the homeless, because they are all in one area, they have the stigma of uneducated opinions on those people, they get the blame for it. And I know I'm my 2 minutes. I can hear your thing buzzing, but and I really
know.
it was just a text, right?
Yep, yes, actually, yes.
But basically, I want to invite you. Don't come down and talk to me. Come down and talk to them. Come down and get to know them. Their blood bleeds the same color as mine, bleeds the same color of yours. Do they make bad choices? Yes. Do they, could they do better for themselves? Yes. But I make bad choices, and there's things that I can do better in my life as well. I have people that come alongside me and say, hey, Janice, you can do it. They don't have that. And if we all came with them and said, you know what, you're worth something, you can do something, let me help you, let me figure out what you're good at, and let me help you go towards that, then these people can do what you're talking about, become better society people, to become better for themselves, to better themselves. You know, a lot of them, if they've never worked and you give them a job and you say, here, do this, they don't know how to do it. They don't have the skills that we have. You know, the gentleman who's, been in prison this whole time, he doesn't know how to just be thrown out there to do things. And so if we had people, you're talking about, it's great that you're talking about, teaching them how to read and write, but what about mentoring them into their skills? Teaching them a skill, like you're talking about making bracelets. Having women come in and teach women how to bake a cake and then go sell it. Or, those are the things that can be practical, that can be started tomorrow, that can be an impact with this problem, that can help them. That's one of the things I was talking about today with the three that came. It's great to talk about future things and what we can do in the future, but what about today? What about tomorrow? How are we going to get through that to even get to the point of the big answer, the big solution? And that's kind of where I fall into, and I can only do what I can do with what I have. I have a lawn that people can stay on and have a place that they're not being ran off, shoot off like like they're trash or something. I have a porta potty that they can use so they don't have to go back behind a building and poop on the sidewalk. It might not be the best solution, but it's something. And that's what we were talking about. It's time to be boots on the ground. Let's just not talk about it, but what can we do to actually put into action a solution?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Shannon, thanks.
Well, the challenge has been extended, and that challenge is there. Tim, you said you had something?
I just wanted to say.
Hang on, you got to get up to the
I'll
microphone.
get up here. I've been going out there for probably, 3 or 4 months? We have a Bible study out there, me and Kyle Oler. But we've seen the changes out there. We've seen the bad worst. We've seen fights. We've seen alcoholism, drugs. We've seen the police come, break up fights. We've seen it all. But what I would challenge everybody to do on the council is don't just go out there one time and talk to a few people. Actually go out there multiple times. Come out on Tuesday at 2:30 and go to Bible study with us and meet the people. We've gone out there and charcoaled hamburgers for them. We take them food from the Legion, and people called enabling. The way we look at it, or the way I looked at it, because I was one of those. I thought we were enabling. We shouldn't have the homeless here. We need to get them out. That was my thought process. Kyle kind of changed me on that. We give them 3 things: food, water, and shelter. I've heard people up here talk about, let them do a little bit of work and we'll give them food. People are giving them food. These guys need money. These people need money to get off the street and find something to do. And if you go biblical with it, I had a long talk with Kyle, and that's the only reason I'm at the council meeting tonight on the way here, was if you go biblical with it, it's the churches and the families. That's what happened back in the old days. The churches and the families. It wasn't your all's responsibility. It was the churches and the families' responsibility. I took it to the Legion. That's our responsibility. We took an oath to take care of everybody. We took an oath to take care of all Americans. These people are Americans. That's why the Legion takes food and goes out and cooks hamburgers and things like that. That's our oath. We live by that.
And as Christians, we should live by that as biblical teaching. It's a great 30-minute conversation with Kyle Lawler today after we left Bible study. I had a longer Bible study. But that's what I would encourage everybody to do. Go to your churches. Go out and see these people on a weekly basis and get to know them. They left already. I met him today for the first time. And he was telling us he can't read because he was going to leave. We had just asked him to read a passage out of the Bible. He said, I can't read. So we kind of helped him through it. We met another guy that's from, where's he from? Oregon or Washington State. He came down here, had a job, didn't work out. He's still here living on the street. He's been in homeless shelters time after time after time when you get to know him. There's another one that was so excited 2 weeks ago because he has a job at Mazzio's Pizza, and he's out of the homeless shelter and living in a house now because he's got a job and he can help pay a little bit of rent. So, I mean, they're moving out and they're looking for things to do, but we've got to help them get to there. And it's not providing food, because there's a bunch of us providing food. It's not providing shelter. They're getting shelter. Now, they're cold. They were talking today, one of them was talking about his feet were cold last night because it got so cold. He's going to took some sleeping bags and stuff down around his feet to stay warm tonight. But they're surviving in the tents. They're not surviving to get out of the tents. There's a few of them that are, but not all of them are that way. And that's where we have to, as citizens, have to help them. And it's not your all's job. I disagree with that. It's the church's and the family's job to help them. So I just want to say that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
All right. Do we have any further discussions, or, again, I think we've educated ourselves tonight in the proper way. I think this is the way that this conversation should have gone. I appreciate all of the head nods that we get through the audience, all of the silent amens that have been said. I appreciate the words of all the councilmen that have spoken, the direction, the concerns that have been shared, and I think it was handled properly tonight. And so
I would like to agree with you. Every person that spoke tonight, I think everybody had valid points, but I also think everybody handled themselves tactfully and properly.
Well, I think this, this shows the strength of our community. And so if you guys are okay with that, I'll go ahead and end the conversation.
Mayor, one quick thing.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
A lot of people, there's not a whole lot of people that come to this meeting in the public, but we're out there on YouTube right now. So hopefully, people out there watching, the other church groups and all the other people I talked about are listening, and somebody's gonna take the ball to start rolling on this instead of just us up here talking about it and say we need to do it. But hopefully somebody out there is gonna get the dialogue.
Well, and I would say also to those watching at home, I'll look at the camera.
It's this one.
To you at home.
Yeah.
I don't think that one thing that can be conveyed on YouTube is the feeling that's in the air of this room tonight. It's a feeling of proud. I'm proud of our community, so let's do something about it. All right, that said, let's move on. Item B, discussion regarding Graham Community Building kitchen design, remodel, construction, and grant. This is actually part one of a later discussion. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Well, we're having a discussion.
Yeah.
We don't need a motion.
Thank you. Thanks.
I was listening. I do listen every now and then.
You're catching on.
All right, I'm going to turn this portion, this item over to Terry. I've tasked Terry with the Graham Community Building. He has shared his love for that building and his love for the icon that has been. And so I said, take it by the horns, Mr. Lamar.
Okay. For you all that have heard me say this over and over again since I've been in office, one of my big beefs with the city is this council, this group, this past administration is that we don't take care of our buildings. And they fall apart because we just keep putting it off until the issue is there, and then it's gonna cost a lot more money. It doesn't matter if it's the baseball fields or the PYO building or the Graham Community Building. The Graham Community Building has been part of this city since 1938. It was donated by W.A. Graham, and I'm not going to go into the story about Mr. Graham, but the city needed a new city hall in 1938. He was on the city council at that time, and he said, okay, if the city builds this building, I'll pay for it. That building cost $20,000 brand new. At that time, the entire second floor was the library. What was the MUB part downstairs was the city offices, and the fire station was in the north part of it where you go upstairs. There was a bay there for a fire station. So the Graham Community Building portion in the back it was the center of our town for events, family reunions, funerals, school reunions, et cetera, banquets, big banquets. Okay, so fast forward to 1960, after Mr. Graham passed away in 1952, and his estate built all these buildings that we have in a lot of areas right now. They remodeled that building in 1960 to the way it looks now, and remodeled it, city council upstairs, MUB, the community building. It was remodeled with a modern day kitchen. It still was a big thing in our community. So anyway, that building has now gone to pot, and it's an embarrassment, but it's still being used by a big part of our community. And the people that come in and use it and from out of town, they probably talk about us. Santa Claus, for example, was upset. And if you don't know Santa Claus, he'll tell you what his opinion is. I had phone calls last year. I had phone calls this year from Santa Claus and said, Terry, this building is crap. What are y'all gonna do to fix it for next year? For example, last year in the community building portion of it, the electrical receptions didn't work, and there weren't enough for his Santa's Village. He calls up a local electrician, and I'm gonna brag on it, Big Electric. He said, Marty, this is crap. The city's not gonna fix it. Come down here and put me in some receptacles. And without the city knowing it, they did it, and he donated that work of all that receptacles to the city. People don't know that, but he did, and it's a good thing he did, and I'm appreciative of that. But anyway, the bottom line is the building is crap. It's falling apart. The kitchen is condemned. We can't use it. If you all have never been in that kitchen, I implore you to go look at it. I took cell phone pictures last week. In fact, I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna email them to all of y'all so you can see how bad that place is on the inside. You cannot even use the kitchen. We have groups that wanna use the kitchen. We can't. It's an embarrassment. Even out in the main hall of the building, the paneling is falling down. The ceiling tiles need to be replaced. It looks like crap. And it is a centerpiece of our community inside the city limits for people to use. We've got to do something. Okay, fast forward to that, to about 1989 or 90 or so. I was on the city council at that time. There was talk again at that time about doing away with the community building. I took it to lead the charge to show that that building did have use and a need for our community at that time. Keep in mind that before that, we didn't have the fairgrounds, we didn't have the expo and all these other event centers. This was the centerpiece that we had right here. So anyway, the city spent some money in remodeling it, and that was probably the last time it was ever really remodeled. But since I had the city hall pull off these records for me today, and since 2011, we have earned or gained about $32,000 in revenue from the rental of that building since about 2011 or so. We do pay to have it rented out, and it's still used, but it looks like crap, and the kitchen does. So the building is used. There are still people that use it. The Cherokee Nation uses it for their election polling places. There's homeschool that goes on in there. There's still family reunions. The Red Cross uses it. A lot of people use that building, but it looks like crap. A few weeks ago, Ariana Durr, visiting with the mayor and with Adam Anderson, Ariana said, hey, I've got an idea that I think we can get a grant to fix this kitchen. So I'm gonna let Ariana talk about that. But people, we need to get this kitchen fixed, and we've got this grant that's gonna come up and be due the end of February, up to a $500,000 grant from the USDA to fix that thing. And this may be our only chance right now that we have to do that with. But we also need to look at fixing the interior of that building. Because it's falling apart, it literally is. And we need to keep it. Yeah, it's in bad shape. And Councilman Smith brought this up several months ago. The gravel pit property that we have out east of town that was donated to the city again by the Graham Estate for the city to have gravel to gravel our roads with beforehand. And Troy even brought it up that night when we discussed it. That property's for sale. I don't know what's being done about it. Actually, the ball's been dropped on that, getting something done about it. But Councilman Smith and Councilman Choya brought up a damn good idea that that's a Graham building. It was given to us with Graham money. So was the gravel pit. Let's take the money. It's not gonna be a lot, but let's take the money that we get the proceeds from the sale of that property and use Graham money to help fix Graham money with. Now, that's another talk and another discussion down the road. But Ariana's gonna talk to you about this grant. However, there's some things that comes along with that. Guess what? We're gonna need to have an architect look at that kitchen and give us a design on what it's gonna take to fix the kitchen. We're also gonna have to hire a structural engineer to look at it. And we're gonna have to have these reports and a architectural plan and costs to go along with this to be submitted with this grant. And guess what? That grant's gonna be due on February 29th. So we're gonna need to make a hard decision here on whether or not we want to push for this grant and get that building fixed. But it's gonna take, again, hire an architect to come up with a plan, et cetera, et cetera. So with,
Awesome.
Take
Thank
it.
you. That was awesome, Terry. Thank you so much. Yes, I know all of you, but for those of you who don't know me in the audience or online, I'm Ariana Durr, and I sit on the EDTA, and I work for Mason County Hope. And so my interest in this was the kitchen. I actually was in a work training and learned that the grant Terry is talking about is called the USDA Rural Business Development Grant. And actually Harper County Development Authority, they actually applied for this grant to purchase a building and renovate that kitchen for the purpose of leasing it out to home bakers and home sauce makers and stuff so that they could start a business. Because the whole purpose is to help business owners. And so this is like a win-win because we can help our local business owners trying to start their own baking business or any other type of business, but also it's going to fulfill a need that's been far too long needed for our community. And so I'm very excited about the opportunity. We already put it on the EDTA agenda to get a support letter. I was hoping that the EDTA would agree to fund a grant writer, and since then, before that meeting even took place, Mayor Doyle actually was able to secure a grant writer for this grant. So that's very exciting that's a big piece that is usually a barrier that's taken care of. So there is a grant writer already there. I also spoke with Amy Cowley. What's really great about this grant is there's a designated USDA employee that will help you. And what's so awesome about it is if we can get the grant in a couple weeks early, and even if we don't have those plans quite yet, if we get the majority of it in, she will actually give us tips on how to improve the grant so that we'll have better chances of landing it. So that was really exciting to hear. So also, when I spoke with her about what are our next steps to make sure that we could get this done, she said that our city engineer that we already have contracted would work to basically, we just need that engineer to go in there to see if it's structurally sound and if it's still be able to be sanitary once it's renovated. So I asked her, what does that look like, exactly what we need from the engineer, and she said just an official letter from the engineer saying it is structurally sound and safe and will be sanitary. So that will be step number one. Then Terry and I also met, and we talked about there might be some kitchen equipment that can be salvaged. And so another step will be to get the health department in there, which is, I'm pretty sure, no cost, which is exciting, to see what can be salvaged. And then I did ask Amy Cowley with USDA, what specifically do we need from an architect? And she actually said it could be an architect or a contractor. And she said, because if you do look, I think it's in your guys' packet, but there are required forms. And you'll notice it says, if the project involves construction, you need plans, specs, drawings, yada, yada. So I actually listed this verbatim to say, what exactly do we need for our building off this list, since it is gonna involve some construction? She acted like it was pretty laid back, that those documents are actually for ground up projects. And so when I asked her what we would need from a contractor or architect, she just said general plans and specific specs. So I'm not sure how much that will cost, but I'm hoping that the EDTA could possibly help out with that cost if it exceeds a certain amount. So we'll cross that bridge. I'm hoping to get approval from you guys to, since it is a city-owned building, the city actually has to be the applicant instead of the EDTA. And so that's why we're here before you today. And if we do get approval, then we can start making those calls to an architect or a contractor to see how quick we can get the plans and specs for that project. So after we get those plans, we'll also, the grant writer will need to work with city staff to get the other required documents that you guys it should also be in your packet, I believe. And then another thing that's gonna help us a lot is if we can receive support letters from home bakers that are wanting to start their business. So because I'm involved with the farmers markets, I am aware of some that I can already contact to see if they would like to utilize that kitchen if it gets renovated. But for those on camera or in the community, any of you all, if you guys know of anybody trying to start their own catering business or baking business or something like that, that would hope to use a commercial kitchen, it would be great if you could get them in touch with Terry or myself so that we can help them get a support letter. And we can help them create it and just have them sign off on it, because the more support we can get like that, the stronger the grant application will be. Lastly, I just want to reiterate, like Terry said, it is due February 28th. Again, if we send it in a few weeks early, Amy will actually have time to review the application for us to make recommendations. So yes, I think that is all I have to say. And I have, Amy said that the grant writer is welcome to call her at any time as she's working on this grant, or you all are welcome to have her contact information if you have any specific questions that I can't answer, or I'd be happy to ask Amy on behalf of you guys. So with that said, do you all have any questions? Tomorrow.
The big question is, and I heard some mumblings, I know the answer, but I'm gonna let you.
Okay.
Was there a match requirement?
Yes, thank you. I forgot to bring that part up. So the exciting thing about this is there is no match requirement, which is actually rare these days. However, the application will be stronger if we can show a match. And Amy from USDA did say that the real estate value of the building will count as a match. And so that's very good news. And also a point that may be relevant for you guys that you may want to know, when Harper County applied for a similar project, Terry said you can get a max of $500,000. When they applied, it was just right under $100,000. And I actually spoke on the phone with the lead person who did that application. Her name is Lana Schaefer. And she informed me that $80,000 of that was to purchase the building. So we are in really good shape, the fact that we already have the building. And I think, we could get a lot, hopefully gut the place and get it all up to code. She did mention also that I feel like definitely needs to be mentioned here so we can do it on the front end. She mentioned that the state fire marshal was requiring blueprint plans when they applied. She said it might be different for us, but if we have those blueprint plans, that would be great. And or a contact for our state fire marshal, just might want to clue them in at the front end of all this stuff.
We do have the original 1960 blueprint plans, because I went back in the storeroom and found them.
Wonderful.
And they're currently in the corner of the conference room by the copy machine behind the door. That's the 1960 plans. They probably want to see the plans for
what we're doing.
The new
Right.
design.
Yeah, definitely, to make sure it's up to code for the state fire marshal, absolutely. Well, that's great news too.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Real quick, this isn't necessarily the kitchen, but just the building. I was in a meeting with Grand Gateway before, and there is a grant that they have, I think it's called the, oh gosh, I want to say it's like the Rural Community Block Grant. They said if we can, because you know sometimes you have to tailor the grant application to where it's not exactly what it's used for. Like obviously this building's used for community purposes, but if we can tailor a grant application towards that for seniors, which I imagine there are senior groups for sure that meet in that building, there might be some money towards that to go towards the inside other than the kitchen. Just want to plant that seed because I think those grants come out in January. So, any other questions?
But I want to stress that this grant is just for the kitchen only.
Correct.
Not the rest of the place. And I'm going to send you all pictures of the inside of that kitchen. But in the kitchen itself, it's got the kitchen, it's got a pantry store closet, it's got a section on the north side of the kitchen area that has a bathroom and like a cloakroom for your workers to do their thing back there. Besides that, so there's actually kind of 3 sections of it. But, you know, it probably the plumbing, the electric, I doubt any of that is current code. So it's all gonna have to be gutted and redone in there. There are some high dollar type fixtures that we have in there, like a big gas oven. There is a dishwasher, that'll probably have to be redone, but there is some, there's commercial mixing machines and things like that in there. We also have a storeroom pantry that actually has full sets of dishes and water glasses, everything you need for a banquet and everything in there too. So we need to make sure that we, you know, have the storage space for all that and everything. And hopefully this could be utilized more. Years ago, the Rotary Club Pancake Day was one of the biggest things in this town on a Saturday. And it was at the Grand Community Building in the kitchen, and it was one of the cool things to come to and get the whole town together. They stopped doing that for whatever reason. But that's just, you know, we could start getting things done in there, maybe have some family reunions, etc. And a lot of people have asked about the kitchen and baby showers and such. And a lot of these groups that have rented it and individuals. But I'm going to implore you to please consider trying to get this thing going as a council.
Terry, are you available if they want to come and meet up with you to go through that?
To go through the building? Certainly.
Okay. So I just encourage you to reach out to Terry. Thank you, Ariana.
Thank you all so much.
Okay. Are you good? All right. Further discussion. I will say that Danielle Sotelo, I think is her name, and she's the grant writer that's been writing our grants for the police department, and she has been, so far, 100% successful in getting us everything we want. She is excited and willing to do this grant for us pending approval. So I think as we go down later in the agenda, we'll see that. I'm going to propose that we take a 5-minute break and we be back on the hour.
guys out there, do you think that they gave their ways positive?
We'll know where they're at.
Everything was positive? Excuse me. Yeah, okay, good, good, because we were hoping they would. We were hoping for it, you bet. You guys have a good one.
Courtney gave me the look to hit it harder, so. Got- Jimmy broke this one time when I was on the council. He hit it and it went, do you remember that, Joy?
Yeah, it went backwards, yeah.
I think he was mad at me and hit old, Roberta Graham in the face back here. All right, let's go ahead and get back on schedule, on track, whatever you want to say. We are on item C of the mayor's report, discussion and possible action regarding PRY 2301, 2023 street rehabilitation, phase 1, pay application number 1 for $108,506.33 to be paid from street asphalt overlay account 1414554110.
So move.
A motion from Gantier.
Second.
Second from Chitwood. Discussion? You have it in your packet there. If there's,
Yes, I have one question.
yes, sir.
Phase 1, which project was that?
Phase 1 was the
Trailer
mobile
park?
home, the mobile home in Gaither.
Okay.
That's where we gave that property maintenance to, that maintenance agreement to the county, so yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And that was, final inspection was performed on December 6th, and everything looked spectacular. There was very few spots in the mobile home park, the trailer park, that had any collected water. So, good job. Further discussion? Call for the vote.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Okay. Item D, discussion and possible action regarding PRY 2304, 2023, street rehabilitation phase 2, final change order number 3 in the amount of negative $6,364.35.
So move. Second.
Motion from Gantier and a second from Chitwood. Discussion?
Does this mean we're getting a refund on that one?
Yes.
In a negative? Okay.
Yes.
I believe it's actually just going to remove that amount from our total. I'm not sure exactly,
Okay.
but yes,
I'll
we
take
don't owe
that
it.
too.
Thank you.
All right. Further discussion? Call for the vote.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier.
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure.
Yes.
Okay, item E, discussion and possible action regarding PRY 2304, 2023 street rehabilitation phase 2, pay application number 2 in the amount of $22,636.01, and number 3, the final for $20,927.71 to be paid from street asphalt overlay account 1414554110, and accept the project as complete.
So move. Second.
And again, I want to ask what one was phase 2? It doesn't say on the, it's something that involved striping, so it had, was it,
So we did go back and stripe Gaither. I believe that was part of that. Looking here, the pay application. Find the right one. And these are in your packet. I think what we're, do what? Yeah, so we did the white stripe, the yellow stripe, the solid white line, and the curbs.
That was the -6, so that was that one.
I think I need to possibly have us back up a little bit. I believe phase 1 is the project that we're working on now. And this is the pay app number 1 for the project they're doing with the alleys. I believe phase 1 is the alleyways. I say correct, because phase 2 has the final and phase two was the one that was the larger project. So, stand corrected, phase one is the alleyways that we're doing now, and this is the first pay app to pay for that, that you guys approved in item C. Item E, this is phase two, pay app 2 and 3, 3 being the final for the trailer park and Gaither Road. So I can clarify that a little bit better.
Mayor, in the future, when we do these projects and on these documents, can we have it designated on there?
I think that's a great idea to list exactly what
Yes,
is.
what street was done,
Yes, I think that's,
projects, okay.
yes. And when you have your next street committee meeting, can you make that comment again there to remind that that's what we want to do?
Mr. Chair?
We will.
Okay. So, item E, we had a motion on that, correct?
Yes, in a second.
Who was the motion? Gantier, were you the motion?
Probably.
Gantier was motion.
He was that motion, I was second.
Okay.
He was
Further
moved.
discussion? Call for the vote.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier.
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item F, discussion and possible action regarding work order PRY 2306 for the traffic study at the intersection of Southeast 9th Street and South Elliott for a lump sum amount of $9,500 to be paid from Street Department Light Maintenance Account 141455425.
So move. Second.
Motion from Gantier and a second from Chitwood. This is, if anybody has to go down 9th Street, dropping kids off in the morning or picking them up in the afternoon, you know what this is all about. And knowing that we have a football stadium and a maintenance facility and all kinds of other things coming in, we need to give that intersection some love. It is awful. And in order to do that, we have to have the traffic study to change the lights. And so we have, in the past, we've used DeShazo, which is an engineering company that works with infrastructure. That's also a company that Jared Crisp used to work for. They've all recommended it. We went on site, we looked at it, and this is the number that they're giving us to do that traffic study so that we can get the best way to handle that situation, to maybe get the traffic moving a little bit better. Do we know what the results will be? No, but the idea is if we don't do something now and that football stadium gets done, you're gonna need a helicopter to get out of there. That's the bottom line.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is this gonna be, because, is this about just for the traffic light signals? Or is it gonna be about a permanent fix for that on
Yeah.
widening the roads, putting in other lanes, et cetera?
So my instruction was, the discussion when Dale Burke and I went out and met with this gentleman from, I believe his name was Jamie, from the DeShazo Engineering Group, was we need a permanent solution. We need to know if we need to take a little bit, we're gonna say on the westbound side of 9th is really what this is really about. If we need to take and widen a little, we need to know that. If we can reprogram the lights in a configuration that works with what we have, if we need to reconfigure the lane usage, I want the answer. And so they're gonna do traffic counts, they're gonna do accident reports, they're gonna do, so you should start to see some kind of action in there once this is approved. I did tell them that the school is looking to have that football stadium up and going within a year, and I want to be well done with this project by then. I don't want any interference as they're trying to build and go. This should have been done a long time ago.
Now, when you say you want something done before the end, you're talking about just the study done, or the study coming back and we're gonna dedicate money to fix?
Let's get the study back and see what it says.
It's gonna be quite a while.
And see what kind of funds are required, and then we can make that decision, but I want the study done now. I want to know right now what we gotta do. I want anybody that has to sit in that traffic at any time of their day, sometimes multiple times.
And since we know that we're planning this football stadium, is there been other meetings in the works between, say, the city and the county and the school about what they're gonna do about that traffic flow on that narrow county road going west from 17, or from
Not yet.
Oklahoma? I mean, east from Oklahoma?
No, not that I'm aware of. This is step one. Step one is let's get the heavier flow taken care of, the more obvious direction. Clearly, something is gonna have to happen with 9th Street going east. So, but I think we need to get the light situated. We may find out that we have enough space with the road that we have now that we can just redo our lanes. I wanna hear what they have to say, and the only way we're gonna get an answer is, to go through and do this.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not opposed to this, but I do have a question
Yes, sir.
that maybe the attorney may have to address. Is this something that we would have had to put out to bids, or is it something we could handle this way?
We can handle this way.
Okay,
That's right.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, and we've used, like I said, Dishazo was the group that came right up. Everybody was like, call them, this is who we do. So we have used them many times in the past. Further questions? Call for the vote.
Gantier,
Yes,
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell.
Yes.
All right, our favorite time of the meeting, city attorney's report. Chase, you've been so patient. Appreciate it. Item A, second reading and possible action regarding ordinance pertaining to the use of automated license plate readers.
motion,
Motion, oh, he's got a motion. Waive the reading,
motion to waive the reading, yes.
second it.
We have a motion to waive the reading from Mr. Chitwood and a second to waive the reading from Mr. Shropshire.
I just want to
Discussion.
clarify, you want to do this and waive the reading,
And
correct?
waive the reading.
Okay.
Yes. All right, where
So
we
the
at?
motion is going to be to approve the ordinance and waive the reading, the second reading?
Correct.
That's correct.
Or second, waive the second reading and approve the ordinance in its
Yes.
one swoop?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way it's written.
Answer questions, but it's the same it's been. It's a second reading, so you know what it says.
Okay. No further discussion? We will call for the vote.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell,
No.
Gantier.
No,
Chief, can you come up here for a minute? This still has to be posted. But I'd like to give you a Christmas present. Thank you. I'm tired of that being in my office.
You still, hey, you cannot put it up for 30 more days after we post it in the newspaper.
Merry Christmas, Chief.
Then, huh?
I said they had to put up anyway, I can't come with it.
Good. Tell them they can come in 30 days.
For those that are wondering, that's been in my office since what, July? Charles, when did we find that? July? When was that?
Been a
episode?
while.
July? Yeah, so I've been waiting to give you that. I need the bow back. It belongs in the closet. All right. Item B, second reading and possible action regarding ordinance pertaining to Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Administration, OMMA regulation.
motion to not do the second reading and to approve.
Second
that. Bruce will do it.
Motion to waive the second reading and approve from Gantier and a second from Mr. Chitwood. Discussion? Call for the vote.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Okay. C, second reading and possible action regarding an ordinance amending Title V, Chapter 5, Prevention of Youth Access to Tobacco and Vapor Products.
Motion to waive reading and approve ordinance. Second.
Okay, did you get all that? Thanks. Discussion. Chase, did Mrs. Stout get a hold of you?
I have not heard from anyone.
Okay, I forwarded to her the email you sent that Section B was not anything we could change. So
Well, they weren't requesting to change it, we can.
she was. And then I sent it to you. Anyways, you had said that there was nothing. It's in the email. But she should, so if she does reach out, I just forwarded her the email on that.
And I would like,
Because there was no request for change in B.
Right.
I think the idea was they wanted our Section B to mimic the state Section B, and it pretty much does.
Pretty much does, yeah.
So-
The only changes between our old ordinance and the new ordinance, and the one that is before you today is really adding the word nicotine. I didn't notice anything on B that was changed
Yeah.
from ours. If she wants it, we can always do it, but.
No, I'd like to say, and thank you to the teachers and also the students for coming up and bringing this to our attention, who are involved in our community and our up-and-coming leaders. It's very much appreciated. They have a lot of interest, and to help for the health of also other young people. Excuse me.
Thank you. Further discussion? If none, call for the vote.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar.
Yes.
Okay. Item D, first reading of an ordinance amending Title V, Chapter 4, Article C, Section 2, fireworks related.
Motion to discuss before reading.
Okay,
I'll second.
we have a motion to discuss before reading and a second, or from Gantier, a second from Chitwood. Discussion. I think we had found some
Little minor.
issues. Chris, do you have those noted that we discussed?
Yes, section 2, letter A. Let me get-
The season for residential firework discharge, firing, or burning shall be limited to be only on July 1st and July 4th. Would that be during?
It'll be through. So where that's from is it was July 3rd and July 4th. So we changed from the 3 to a 1, but we didn't change the and to a through. And by we, I mean me. So we'll change that.
Okay.
The
Okay, say
ordin-
again on what you're changing.
Go on.
Why isn't this stuff highlighted on the packet of what the changes are gonna be?
We wanted.
They were just proposed just now.
This was something that I had found reading through it, and we had just found that. Section 2, residential fireworks, item A, where it talks about the season, where it says will only be on July 1st. The and should have been a through, because it said July 1st and July 4th.
Okay.
So, just typographical errors is what most of these are.
Another thing I'd need, I guess, your guidance on, whatever you guys want to do. Your current ordinance has, actually, I'll just read you your current one. 9 a.m. to 11:59 o'clock p.m. So that's what it says. I left that wording the same. On New Year's, we took it to 12 a.m. I can replicate that, or we can change on the 4th of July to 12:01 July 5th. I have a feeling the reason most towns are doing 11:59 p.m. is people obviously fire them off at midnight, which would be in violation, but just don't enforce it, because that's easier to write than adding another day and adding 10 to 15 minutes. But whatever you guys want to do.
That was a point that I was gonna make in that paragraph. At New Year's, if they shoot the fireworks, it's not gonna stop at midnight.
They're gonna start then.
But I don't want it going to 3 o'clock the next morning either.
Well, would the appropriate be New Year's Day between the hours of 9 o'clock New Year's Day and maybe say 12:30 New
9
Year's
PM
Eve
New Year's Day and 12:30,
on the January 1st?
however it's worded, but yeah,
Gotta be
give
New
them
Year's
30
Eve.
minutes
New
or
Year's Eve and New
something.
Year's
New
Day.
Year's Eve.
Gotta be New Year's Eve.
You want that on the 4th of July also?
No, no,
Just New
no, no, only on.
No, I think the 4th of July stopping at 11:59 o'clock is appropriate. I just think on New Year's Eve we should,
So 12.
12:30.
12:30, is that a good?
I would be okay with
I'd go to
12:30.
1 o'clock.
Joya is a party animal, man, come on, he's
I mean,
He puts on that shirt and,
I
hey,
mean, yeah, the shirt does. That's
I mean,
Kimmy, what did you feed him?
12:30, because we all know they're not gonna stop at 12:30, they're gonna go a little longer, and it'll end up being 1, but I'm not trying to be a
I
fire
would
pooper.
say,
I just don't want them 3, 4 o'clock in the morning keeping on.
I would say, we're making the change, rather than make it tight, make it, stringent and whatnot, let's just say 1 o'clock, and then we're done. I mean, I know New Year's Eve, I stand out on my front porch and watch, we don't do fireworks on New, and it's usually a couple of boom, boom, booms for 20 minutes, and then
That's about it, yeah.
by then they're all passed out, and,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm already asleep, so it doesn't.
I've got a couple of questions about it. I know that
Just
you
gonna
and I
open it
talked
up,
about
wake
this
it up.
ordinance several months ago. But when you and I had talked about it, it was not including New Year's. So what brought it up to get, I get it 4th of July, but who brought it up about wanting it on New Year's?
The discussion,
Yeah.
I'll take it. The idea was, we were probably gonna end up bringing New Year's into it eventually. And so rather than do this again in a few months to add New Year's, I made the decision to throw it on here and let's get it on there. And so that it's,
Did you all get any kind of public yays or nays about it? Did you get much public support or anything about it? Or did anybody call the mayor's office when you were drafting this, say, hey, let's do?
no, I did not get any calls saying, hey, let's.
So you two brought it up, okay.
Yeah.
And then on, section 2, under B, fireworks should not be discharged within 25 feet of a permanent structure. So if people are out doing it in their front yard, is that 25 feet?
I believe this was.
Where it is, that's your current ordinance.
This is current order. Anything that had to do with like distance from a building or anything, we didn't change any
Okay.
of that.
The main changes here are going to be the season. We changed what the season was, the sale, and the regulations that we put kind of towards the end of if you're going to sell and have a fireworks stand, the requirements that's gonna be. Pretty much everything else in this is your current ordinance.
And does it talk, it doesn't talk in here about what the permit's gonna cost?
There
That's
won't be
something
any.
set by council at another time.
So as of right now, that's being removed for residential. We collected 17 last year. So the idea is that if we can promote the sale of fireworks in city limits, we'll surpass that $235 or whatever it is we made. That's quick math, but you know,
Well, I'm talking about the license for a fireworks stand.
yeah, that'll have to be discussed once we get we'll discuss the business license and stuff for that.
That goes under.
And do we have a set general business license fee? Like,
We currently do
people
not
can
have
get
a
on the website and say, this is exactly what things are gonna cost.
We currently do not have a business license
For this.
for
For this.
anything for the city.
I think I put in here $500.
You do.
Yeah,
Agree.
I did put one in here. I can remove that if you wanna do it separate, but
No, that's good.
I don't know where I got that. I don't know if I took liberty by putting that or if I was told, I don't remember.
Where's it at?
D3.
D3.
Invoice,
Top, right at the top of the page.
no,
Last
I'm in the
page,
wrong D.
or the next last.
Okay.
That's to sell them, right, Chase?
That's to get the permit to sell, correct.
So do they have to also pay to blow them up?
No.
Residential, we've removed all permits. Your commercial, there's still the fee. I think that is what.
Was there any input from the fire chief or the police chief?
Yes,
this?
so BK and I, Chief Young and Jeremy, we talked about, not quite as in-depth with fire, our police's fire. Chief Young is 100% in support of this. He actually gave us some resources to cite for some of the things that like, was it Oklahoma City or Oklahoma? We were trying to, he said Oklahoma City.
County is where,
Yeah,
It's
it
the
was
county,
Oklahoma
I think is what he meant. But where he said basically it's a copy paste of theirs and change the names.
yeah, I
But-
changed some
Okay.
things to make it, because they have a couple different words. And then I think that's where I got the 500, is that's what theirs was.
And is there, I'm not saying it's not here. Is there anything in here about what to do if they violate this ordinance? What it's gonna, are you gonna get a ticket? Is it gonna cost something? What's the
E,
language in here?
the last paragraph,
Very, very last, E, on the very last page.
refers you back to your misdemeanor statute.
Penalty.
We're at,
So on
Last
this
page.
right?
Oh, last one.
well,
Right above
D,
the
D
signature.
what?
No,
E. E
Echo,
in
right above the signature line.
word.
It's one, you got one more page.
The one laying on the counter. Nope, you just covered it.
No, that's a tract of land.
That's tract of land.
Well, it says E, penalty, any person found violating any provision of this section shall, upon conviction, be deemed guilty of a misdemeanor and punished as provided in section 1-4-1 of this code.
Okay, so 1-4-1, where's that at?
That-
And what's the fee? for
That's
the-
probably not included there.
that's
That is labeled general penalty
Yeah,
in our
that's your
code book,
general
I believe.
misdemeanor statute.
But it says in
Yes.
section of this code,
Yeah, this.
Code is your-
the city
Not-
code.
The city
Yes.
code.
Okay, I'm through.
It's all right. Good
And
question.
that
Great question.
That general code is $160 for fines and costs.
And then
Yeah.
on section E, under 2,
Yes.
no person under the age of 18 years of age shall engage in the use of residential fireworks unless under the supervision, which term supervision shall require the physical presence in the immediate area such that the visual observation of the use may be had during all times of use of an adult person over the age of 18. They also need to be within voice command. That's something like when you go hunting and you have an apprentice license, so that they can actually be communicated with. So I could see you a mile away.
Chris, you mentioned this earlier. Which one is it?
It's 2E.
There it is. Ken.
So you're saying not just supervision, because I can see you from a mile
It
away.
sounds
Yeah.
physical presence, what else do you?
Yeah, but they need to be under normal voice command. It's something that the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries of multiple states uses. That way, because you gotta be able to communicate. That's just a request I have. That's just my idea. You may like it, you may not.
That's your. That one is your current, but we can
Yeah.
change whatever you want.
I'd say we leave it.
So, I mean, I'm not gonna throw a fit about it.
I appreciate that.
Change it. Or
And
we
then,
could put-
and there was one other one.
I think we also talked about putting an actual distance.
Yeah.
They're within voice command.
They're a mile away, you know,
Yeah.
physically present.
Yeah.
And then letter F, an adult person over 18 years of age overseeing the use of fireworks by persons under the age of 18 years may not supervise more than 4 persons under the age of 18 years in the use of fireworks. What if it's the parent of his immediate children? I would think we would not want to go with that, in that case, just.
Well, I think this is where we bring, again, this is all from our previous, kind of just cleaned up the verbiage really, more or less. Took out the part because it said, the permit holder, et cetera. I think this is where we would bring in Chief Cantrell and say, are you gonna go do head counts?
That's what we're talking about.
Okay. You got 5 kids, you're in violation.
The only thing we have covered is the length of the fuse on a firecracker.
That's right, there we get that.
Be all right.
All right. So
Anyway, that was my thoughts.
I think the biggest thing we need to look at are the dates and time on item A. And then,
2A.
yes, 2A. Any further input on that? Thoughts, comments, concerns? Okay. That said,
So would we make a motion to read with those changes?
do we need to read the whole thing? Or do you want to waive the reading?
Waive it with.
Waive the reading except for that paragraph.
Thank you.
We could read that one paragraph.
Bruce is volunteering to read it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Read that one paragraph.
I'm gonna request that we have a motion to waive the reading, given the change in 2A.
Motion.
Gantier had the first and Chitwood had second.
Correct.
I will reflect it, a motion to do what he's asking,
Thank you.
what the mayor is asking.
All right.
I will second.
When you are prepared, call for the vote.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire.
Yes.
Okay. Item E, thank you guys. Item E, first reading of an ordinance changing and amending zone classification from CAR, Commercial, Automotive, and Recreation, to Agricultural AG of the property described as follows. Beginning at the southeast corner of the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter, thence north 103, or 130, 40, along the east line of the southeast quarter, along the southwest quarter, southeast quarter. So, a distance of 881.13 feet to a half-inch iron pin, thence south 88,035 feet 6 inches, west a distance of 245.75 feet to a half-inch iron pin, then south 1031 feet 41 inches, east a distance of 881.11 feet to a mag nail on the south line of the southeast quarter to the southwest quarter, thence north 880 35 feet, 20 inches, east, a distance of 245.75 feet to the point of beginning.
Motion to waive first reading?
Where is that?
That's on the west side.
This is a property we had on the agenda, if not last council, maybe
I
the
think it
council
was last
before.
council.
We
This is the-
approved everything to be changed, but there has to be a ordinance to actually change it.
Resolution.
I think it's in our,
This is the gentleman, if you remember, bought the property and was just shy of the 5 acres. And he just needed to put it back to what it was originally, so that he could build his home on it. Mr. Ragsdale.
Those people
All right,
actually
I'm with
understand that.
Okay. Do I have a motion to waive the,
yes, that's what I.
Gantier.
okay,
I'll second.
Approve and waive, right?
waive and approve?
Can we approve on the first reading, or we approve on?
Oh,
the
I'm
second?
sorry, you're right, it is.
Okay. Don't confuse me like that.
All right, what's your motion, Chris? Say that.
Motion to waive the first reading.
Okay. All right, and you had the second, Mr.
And a
Taylor?
second.
All right. Call for the vote.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Item F, discussion and possible action regarding a resolution calling for special election for the purpose of amending city charter provisions regarding the term of chief of police, city clerk, and city treasurer. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
A motion from Lori Bradshaw
Good job.
Second.
and a second from Mr. Malure. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll start off being the bad guy.
It's all right.
I would like, if we could, not to vote on this tonight, but discuss it, let it get to the public, and maybe next council meeting vote on it. I've had a suggestion that these positions be appointed. I personally don't want to do that myself. I think the more times you get to vote for the offices, the more control that you have on your office. But my big thing is, I think we ought to have everybody a 2-year term, including the mayor, or everybody a 4-year term, including the council, and give them a chance to vote whichever way they want to on it. And we can't go wrong on that, I don't think.
Further discussion?
Yes, sir, I have a question. Why a special election? Why wouldn't it be better to do it when we're having another election simply so that we have a higher voter turnout?
Can I answer that?
Yes, please.
The deadline for the election in February is already passed, so it's gonna have to be a special election because it's gonna be going on the April ballot with the runoffs, but it has to be titled a special election because it's not the original one in February.
But it doesn't have to be April, it could be later, right?
Right, but if we put it on the April ballot, we're already paying for that with the runoff, so it's
How do you
not
know
an
we're
addition-
gonna have a runoff, though?
We have to pay for a runoff in case there is a runoff. We already paid for that, whether we use it or not. So if we put this on that ballot, we're not spending any extra money.
So that wouldn't be a special then, would it?
No, but the county requires it to, it is a special election, but it's.
Request is
Well, that's what they call it.
Yes.
But we will also have an election next year, every year, and we'll have other elections coming up for things that.
In 2024, there's gonna be the federal, state elections, so it could be put on a ballot then.
But that would be an additional cost. The reason I said this is because we've already paid for that, so it's no additional cost to the county to have it put on the ballot.
So basically, we already have it.
We've already paid the money that we're gonna have to pay for the council election.
So
we
how
need to-
quick would this have to, could we do it next council meeting and get by with it, or is?
Yeah, we
Yeah, we have
could.
time
The
to-
deadline,
Big thing I want to do is get it to the public and say, what do y'all want to do?
right,
And I'd
and
like
then
to see the
this,
verbiage as well.
it should be in your packet if
There.
Yeah, there's a.
but also, it does go to the public for voting, obviously, so.
And-
But we do have time to push it to next council
I
agenda
have
if you guys
some
need.
questions.
And I would like to make a suggestion, if we do this on the city clerk and the treasurer, to offset them by 2 years, so if one of them were to change, there would still be someone, well, the new, say, city clerk or treasurer takes over, the city clerk has 2 years of experience to help that person, where at the same time, if it was all to change, everybody's going, oh my gosh, here we are again. I would like to see that offset, so there would be some type of coverage.
That's a good idea.
And there is an understanding that, and I know I've spoken to the mayor about this, and we're all aware of it, but just so the public knows, the term that these positions were elected for, we can't change that. This would affect subsequent elections.
Actually, that's incorrect. I've looked at state statutes, I've talked to the election board, and it's based off of whatever our resolution says. Our current terms can be extended if that's what the resolution states, or it can go off of future terms.
Well, I know when we all voted, we voted for a certain term, and I would feel kind of awkward changing that once that's what people was under the expectation.
The
of
idea,
voting.
though, would be that in the resolution, we say to extend,
These current terms.
that would be how it's worded. I think it's reasonable. Apparently, I can't talk anymore. But if we table this as per requested.
Well, I would like to get a little more discussion
Yeah, no, it's
before we
fine.
table it.
No. Go ahead.
I was gonna bring it up in the language on this section B, that it would be held on the second Tuesday, because I thought that was an error. I didn't know that it was worded to where it was gonna be extending the terms of the current people. So my questions is what brought this up? Second, why are we wanting to extend the terms and not make this effective for the new people that are elected in 2 years from now?
So, go ahead, if you,
Well, just to be completely honest, we have a lot of cleanup to do. Jeremy especially does with his stuff, and I absolutely do too. 2 years is not enough time for us to even begin everything. I haven't even breached the surface of everything that needs to be changed.
and in a year and a half time, we're.
Well,
I'll
no,
be
I'm
running
not
another
saying,
election.
I'm not saying
That's what brought the conversation.
not the 4 years, but this should be effective in the next election in
2025.
2025. Then it would be whoever's elected in those times for the 4-year term.
And that's acceptable, that's just
Yeah.
however you guys and we
Because-
decide to.
However you
write
want
up the
it to read in
resolution.
the.
Because, yeah, we can change this resolution any way we want to
Absolutely.
do it. But that clarified that. But the other thing I had was, I think this is an important thing that's gonna change our charter. And I think that this was and I know you hate the term when I say pushed on us, but this was pushed on us without the public really knowing about this until this agenda came out. When I talked to you last week about things that were gonna be coming up on the agenda, you never even mentioned this to me until I got it in an email that we had this on here. So I don't like the fact that it's not been kind of talked about and getting out there and getting some input from the public. I like what Councilman Smith says, that we need input from the public on what they want. So as a result of that, in Ward 1, you don't really get much input. Well, nobody knew about this, for one thing. There's no time out there to get public input for any of us. So last night, I took it upon myself to send out some text messages to some people in Ward 1 that are business people in Pryor. And I also sent my text messages out to former city officials. 3 different former mayors out of the 4, 2 city clerks, several city council people. And out of that 15 or so, actually one of them didn't, or a couple of them didn't respond. But several of those people were in favor of the 4 years. Some of them said to leave it alone at 2. But in several of the ones that said to do it, they didn't see an objection to 4 years. But if you do 4 years, why don't you put term limits on how long they can stay in that office? If you want to select them for 4 years, after that, one of them said maybe serve 2 terms, and you're out after 4 years. It's not a career job. That was just some input from some former public other officials. Two of them, a former mayor and a former city councilor, said absolutely not. It needs to be 2 years for accountability, that if you have a person in that office that's not doing a good job or is mediocre, so to speak, then you can get rid of them after 2 years and get more quality people at the voter's opinion. So that was just some feedback I had. But I would like to see this to be tabled and to get some more input from the public on what they would like to see.
Let me ask you this, instead of tabling it, would you like to just do a no action on it? Then we're not bound to just, we can bring it back up when the council's ready.
Right. I'm cool with that, yes.
Would that be?
I do have a question. Were you saying that in this, it changes our current one, or that we could change it?
Could.
But it doesn't, what's written here?
In the resolution, as it states, it amends my current term to follow mayor's term. So I would end whenever mayor's term ends.
Counselor, is that legal? Are we violating
I
any law?
don't, I don't see what you're saying. I'm not getting that from this.
Because it's going to a vote of the people.
All of this does is says when you put on the ballot, then the people get to make this decision. This doesn't actually make this in effect.
So we had this conversation years ago when I was on the council, and I just want to throw this out there. Maybe, I don't know if it helps the train of thought. And like I said, I suggested we take no action. When these things come up, for those that haven't served very long or haven't been through something like this, that we're making a resolution for the ballot, remember, more than anything, your vote is to allow the public to vote on this issue, not to necessarily make the decision for the public. If you, look, you guys can shoot it down and be like, nope, we're not doing it, but in that, there is that risk of taking the vote away from the people. Now, whatever you guys decide is what you guys decide. I just would say, keep that in the back of your mind that whatever we decide, it's ultimately to send it to the people to vote on that resolution.
Mayor, based on what you just said, has there been a lot of phone calls up here since you've been in office that says, from the public, calling up Joe Blow, calling up and say, hey, Mayor, we would like to see the city charter amended, changed to 4 years?
No.
Calling up here requesting that?
There's not calls on that. I think the biggest thing is kind of like Courtney said, we've talked with Chief Cantrell, we've talked with Lori, the treasurer. The biggest thing is yes, there is a lot of change taking place in our processes. We get a year and a half into this, and now we're 6 months focused on a campaign. So then we've lost it. Then if they don't get it, then we're back to ground zero of where we're at again. I personally, and I think when I discussed this with some of you, like Gonthier this morning, my particular direction on this is I'd like to be able to see some things to fruition, and some of that's going to take time. We talk about some of the projects we knew we were going to have, and some of those we all know are not going to be accomplished in a term. But I would like to see that window open up for some of those to be able to carry to fruition, so we can actually get some progress and change on some of those things that need changed for our time.
Mayor, my point was, I agree it's to vote the people, but give them 3 options, 3 questions. You want everybody at 2, you want everybody at 4, do you want everybody at 4 with term limit? And let them vote on it. That's giving them options rather than just saying, here's what we want, vote or not.
Randy, what are your thoughts? You're humming over here.
No, I'm processing all the additional information.
Term limits at the local level are useless. You get somebody good in there, keep them. You don't want to tie them.
Right,
Get rid of them.
And you couldn't term out the police anyway, you're on pension.
Exactly.
You could term it out.
No, I'm not thinking term limit. And what I'm thinking about is for stability, going to 4 years would be good. And as Mayor mentioned, see some things to fruition, get trained. But I would like to see alternate every 2 years so someone with the institutional knowledge can help pass that along. And there'll be times where it won't coincide, but let's help. Let's give the city a better chance.
Well, I can speak definitely for the 4 non-council, I'm going to say the non-council 4 elected officials. The transition of all of us at once.
Yeah.
There were some brick walls that we hit. We were like, oh man, we're all new to this.
Yep.
But what it did do is it did allow us to kind of pave a new path. And I think what we're seeing now is we're seeing some really good progress in Courtney's division. We're seeing things found that, yay, right? We're finding funds. We're finding processes. We're able to clean up. We're gonna get stuff done. In Jeremy's, we're finding the ability to start new programs, narcotics programs, and your tactical deal that we had talked about, where we partner with other agencies, and I think it's great. But Jeremy, what do you got?
I was just gonna talk, in reference to it, because when I worked here before, Dennis's term was 2 years, they pushed it to be appointed, and that got shot down, because the people's not gonna take their right to vote away. So it's never, my thought, it will never go away from an elected position, because the voters aren't gonna take that away from themselves. But I do agree that even if it was thrown out there to extend it after this term, I'm okay with it being the next term or whatever, but I do think it needs to be 4 years for whoever's in there, because it is a lot to get started on. It is, flip side of that, is you could get somebody horrible in there and you're stuck for, 4 years. But the big picture, it's a lot of work, and then you're looking at an election coming up, this time next year. So just something to think about. It makes sense.
If you think it's bad at this little local level, what about Congress running every 2 years?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think it gives everybody accountability. If you're doing a good job, they're gonna vote you in every time.
Yeah.
It's just hard to really focus on keeping the momentum of those projects and getting everything cleaned up, because you have to focus on keeping your job.
Well,
How do
that's
our-
that's what you're gonna sell yourself for to the public. I look what I've done, look what I'm doing, and they say,
Right.
yeah, good, and you're voting, but it gives everybody accountability. We could get somebody in at 4 years that might not do what's best for the city and cost us $3 million over a project or something. You can't ever tell.
Charles?
2 questions. First of all, if you have someone who is so bad that you regret, is there an opportunity to recall this council to
It takes
recall?
a vote of the people, I believe, to remove someone from office.
There's a way. It's
There is but there is a
Not
way
stuck
to
with
get it
them.
done. So you're literally not, hands aren't tied for whatever period. I mean,
no, but it's when someone's elected, it's tough.
it's tough.
Is there a way? Yes.
The
Okay,
charter
that's-
says that
but
There's also
there is a path. to
Actually,
do
when
it.
you let me re-answer that. Can you recall anybody? Yes. Your charter actually,
The
it's
charter-
an ordinance, not a charter, but you guys can vote your own out if they're not doing
For
what they're
cause.
supposed to do for
But the mayor specifically has to be handled as however we would handle it at the county level.
because
That's.
he's not part of the council.
Yeah, so
That only applies to the council.
Right.
So with cause, and I think it gave a couple of instances of what cause was, we could do that.
You
Smart.
have a problem too when you're voting on people. I guess the word vetting would come into play here. Who knows if the person that you're voting on is actually qualified to do a job, let's say like Courtney's or whatever. There's too many times, especially on our council and stuff like this, people vote on you because they know the person and they say, well, that's a good old boy, good old girl. And, they go to my church and I know them and it's all good. And so, and they have no idea whether you're able to do that job or not. It's just basically you're voted on your personality or whatever.
What do you think politics is?
Well, you'd hope
I
they
mean, that's
would
kinda
know
what
something about it.
Nailed it down.
You would hope they would know something about it, but like I said, there's no vetting process. So, if you voted a good old person into a position and handed them something and set them down behind the computer or strapped a badge on them or something like that, and they've never been a cop before in their life, but they were a good person, or a good old boy, and what do you do then?
Well, you're not giving much faith to the public. I
Have you
think
been
they
around the
can
public?
think just a little bit further than that, but maybe
Charles,
you're
you got
right.
a comment?
How do the neighboring communities, Claremont, Wagner, comparable communities, are those 2-year terms?
I'm honestly not sure.
We need to look into that.
We're kind of our own beast in the state of Oklahoma. And that's a discussion I'm not getting into, because I know how some of you feel, but the idea is that's not what we're discussing tonight, but, everybody's different. Every community is a little different.
I'm just out of curiosity, I would like to know that before we move forward.
Well, I have no problem with the public voting on it, as long as they've got more than one option, that's what I'm saying, I guess. And I'm like you, tabling it and talking about it, or not tabling it, but no action. Would give everybody time to discuss it and get an idea, good or bad.
Well, I'm gonna kind of put somebody on the spot now, because I know you mentioned to Randy, several of us have put our input in this. What do you two think about this?
I personally, as somebody that has had different jobs and roles, I'm guessing that it takes at least a year or so to fully even know what your role is, and I feel like you're just figuring out your role, and here you are having to try to be reelected. So I do think in positions of that nature, and even like the chief, I think I've even heard him use those words, I'm still learning my role, in the past few weeks. I think I've heard him say that. So their roles it's a big learning curve, I'm sure. So I think putting it to a vote would be, I don't know that there's any harm in that. Let the people decide. But I would say I think in these particular roles, 4 years would be beneficial for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think 4 years is probably a minimum, just to be able to do a job and see anything done. Every 2 years seems awfully short.
What about in the same sense applying to the city council, just 2 years, instead of you're just learning your job?
Yeah.
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 That's right, too.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yeah.
Ask the city attorney. Are you in agreement with that this, as it's written, would change the terms of the currently elected people? Because I'm not seeing that
I don't think we
in this
included
resolution.
it in this. There
No, it says thereafter.
yeah.
It says hereunder. I don't know the legalese words. I would like you to investigate that and see if that's what it says, and maybe provide us two different D paragraphs, one that would amend it to where it would, and one that wouldn't.
There's also something in your charter, because when it was set up, people were already in office when they actually approved it. And it.
But I thought the charter said that any changes would apply to the subsequent terms. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's in the charter, but I could be mistaken.
And that's what I want to go check, because I know there's more language than just this involving the issue.
I think the best thing is we just vote to take no action and.
I agree.
I agree.
Let's move
I just
forward.
want to make sure that we can properly address this later.
Yep. All right, let's call for the vote.
We're voting to table, correct, sir?
No.
Voting
No
to
action.
no
No
action.
action.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell,
Excuse me.
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure.
Yes.
All right. I feel like a sad night is coming to a quick end. Or a good night is coming to a sad end. It's been a good meeting tonight. Item G, discussion and possible action regarding a resolution declaring the eligibility of the city of Pryor Creek to submit an application to the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, for use of rural business development grant funds set forth by USDA for the Graham Community Center remodel project in Pryor Creek, Oklahoma, and authorizing the mayor to sign this application.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion from Gantier and in a plot twist, a second from Smith.
I did. He finally took me all night, but I beat him.
Way to get it going. Now. All right. Discussion. This is for the grant that we had discussed earlier. This is giving us permission to move forward.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Who is it that actually going to write the grant on our behalf? Is it the lady that does it for the police
Danielle
department?
Sotelo is who it is, and I've talked to her, and she is excited for the opportunity.
And what is her fee for doing that?
I believe she charges $85 per hour.
So we just did one for the rec center for retro lighting, it's about a $75,000, and that was a $2,000, which is pretty par for the course.
So you're saying $85 an hour, not a percentage of what the grant is like
Correct.
on
She
others?
charges an hourly rate.
Okay, and that's gonna come from what fund and who's paying for that? Is it EDTA paying for it, or?
That's what we're hoping to talk Mr. Anderson and Ariana into like taking back, but let's get that fee and let's get the approval, then we can figure out where that's gonna come from. I mean, we have resources in
Right.
accounts that we can do. We'll have to get that amount from her and see where we need to take.
So should I
And-
amend my motion
To,
that we would follow up and determine the fee? Or should, I mean,
well, she'll tell us the fee.
I mean, the account, I'm sorry, I meant the account how we're gonna pay for it. 'Cause-
This isn't asking for any payment, this is just asking to submit the application.
Yes.
It's for the resolution declaring eligibility for same.
Yeah, so let me say this. If we don't approve this, then nothing's happening to the Graham Building till we build up capital. If we approve it, we get the money, we go, we'll find, this isn't gonna be a $20,000 grant fee. It's gonna be a couple of $1,000s.
Okay.
We have resources
Mr.
throughout,
Mayor,
everywhere. Yeah.
EDTA
President
Chair.
of the EDTA.
Please come up to the microphone, Mr. Anderson. She's still here.
So, I'm shooting from the hip here, but I think the downtown tax could be tapped for that.
Okay.
And for the study, but I'm not 100% certain yet, so.
That's a good idea, I think.
But it's in the corridor, it's for economic development. It ties into what Ariana said about the bakeries and the home bakeries and stuff, so I think it can be, just haven't really looked into that part yet.
Right, and he'll have to take that and discuss and whatever.
That looks, yeah.
I have one more question, and it don't say it's not on the agenda, but it ties in with this too, because of monies available for this facility.
Yes.
Is there monies available in the bond money for other projects, such as maybe working on the community building?
I'm not sure.
And if we can't talk about that tonight, can
Let
somebody
me
please
answer
look
that
that up?
question as per a request I sent to Mr. Coker today.
Okay,
Okay, so one of the things that I'm working on, and I'm not gonna go too deep.
right.
I don't wanna get off agenda. Sorry, I just had to be a little smart there. My question was, I've been working on the leases, and one of those leases would require possibly using some of the excess bond revenues we have every month to pay that lease off. Jeff was out of office today. I will be discussing that according to his response tomorrow with him. That's an acceptable question I can throw out there. Typically, our bond revenues are anywhere between 106 and 96,000. Revenues are, meaning the allocation, what we get. And based on numbers given several months ago, there's usually a couple to 8,000, depending on that amount excess every month. So the question was, how much is in that pot? How much is extra, and how much do we have already allocated? So that's what I can discuss tomorrow, so if
And
you'll.
what year is that bond supposed to be paid off?
36?
Something along those
I
lines.
believe it's 2036.
Okay,
And
Thank
so
you.
far, everything is looking good there, so,
thank you. I call for the vote.
thank you. Thank you.
Trammell,
Yes.
Had to get it.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Yes.
Lamar. Okay, Shropshire,
Yeah.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood.
Yes.
All right. Item 6, committee reports, budget and personnel.
January 9th.
January 9th.
Thanks, Ariana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh,
Merry Christmas.
Item B, insurance ordinance.
That's gonna be the last Tuesday of January.
Okay. Last Tuesday of January, 30th.
Sir?
Do you need me at that?
I don't know what's on the agenda, but if I think I do, I'll let you know.
Okay. Item C, street maintenance.
January 23rd, 2024.
Are you canceling December 26th?
Yes, Jay's gonna be sending that out tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
January 23rd.
December street maintenance will be canceled. That'll come out tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. Item 7, unforeseeable business. I do not have any. Do I have a motion to it?
Second.
Listen here, Catcher. Do I have a motion to adjourn? I have a motion from Chitwood and a second from Gantier. Call for the vote.
I asked for discussion.
Yes.
You want discussion on that adjournment, Mr. Mayor?
No, that's good.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. That was a wonderful council meeting. I believe we did great. Let's go ahead and call to order the Pryor Public Works Authority. Item 2, approve the minutes of the December 5th, 2023 meeting.
Motion.
Motion from Chitwood and a second from Gonthier. Call for the vote.
You guys always go way too fast in here.
When you're ready, call
Yes.
for the vote.
Thank you. Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gonthier.
Yes.
All right, item 3, we have no unforeseeable business. Item 4,
Motion.
do I have a motion for adjourn? I guess we do.
Was Gonthier the second?
Gonthier was the second.
I felt Isley.
When you are ready and prepared, go ahead and call for that vote.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gonthier,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
We're adjourned.
I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.